let's jump ourselves in. Bans are just getting underway as well. The first one taken away, surprising nobody, is going to be Ying coming out from FearX.
Yep, like you said, no surprises there, especially on console. We know the power of Ying to provide cover, provide opportunity to get the diffuser down. We will have the alpha attacking ban coming in, and that will be followed by 2 defender bans. So they're taking the time to think about this one. Not an immediate strategy there, but not too much of a surprise. We see that Monty go. We said earlier, Monty creeping his way up to the top of the ban rates at the minute. No surprise, we saw Falcons with some fantastic shield use on border that really powered them through to a 7-0 victory amongst, you know, many kills against Chiefs. But a lot of it was built on the back of the shields and using them to create space. So no surprise to see one taken away. We're going to have Mute gone, and that'll leave us for our last defender from FearX.
It feels weird to say that a mute ban feels like a target ban, but I imagine it's going in towards Mephi. It's one of his go-to defensive operators when he's not playing on Warden, so I think it's more towards him, and somewhat towards Demic as well. When he's not on Smoke, he's playing on the Mute. Yeah, Mute, a very popular operator for this FearX side, so target bans galore coming in somewhat. The shield's definitely also leaning in that way, because Nova, as you might expect, is a shield merchant, is the only way that I can really describe him, Tim. So I imagine we get into that second half, all you're going to see is him running around on Blitz, Monty, or Thermite. Well, obviously not the one of them in this map because it's banned away, but that's what he likes to do. He likes to be that supportive player. For Alpha on the attacking side, though, it does mean they can lean into that Blitz themselves. As you can see Ragnar currently hovering over that. Also the Doka being tow, so immediately you can start seeing the machinations of a plan coming together here as well, where it's about trying to get someone isolated out with the Doka calls, making sure there's no support nearby, and just running that poor sod down once the call, or in this case the scan, comes on through.
Alpha yesterday struggled a lot with the entry. FearX weren't fantastic, but they were neutral at least, 0 overall. And by that I mean they were sort of negative or positive in terms of the overall net entry nets. But Alpha, they were -6. You know, they really struggled to get themselves in the early rounds. They really struggled to give themselves those early opportunities. You know, looking towards Slater and Ragnar, they were the 2 players that had really big days. Rovi as well, getting those kills. They need them getting in there and improving on their entry. They need to be finding these early kills. As I said for FearX, they start on the defense. I expect to see them around the map. I expect to see them having little fights, trying to make a nuisance of themselves, and that's something that they need to put in cell game for. They need to make sure that they're on top of the droning, make sure they're aware of where all these players are, and then they need to go in and get those kills and give themselves the advantage.
It's also worth noting the Mozzie that's getting brought along here. You know, don't really see Mozzie that much. Of course, had a recent buff, which may see his pick rate start to increase throughout the competition. But if nothing else, without the mute on side, I think you're going to see a lot of Mozzie on this map, purely because slowing down a, dare I say, a relatively uncoordinated side here, where you've got those 2 subs stepping in, getting rid of drones is 100% the way to make them really struggle and run a little bit too slow. So I like what FearX is trying to do in terms of leaning in towards that, and it's Slater here, the first one to fall. Rovia trade back the other way, and just like that, Ragnar's found himself down. Not really the ideal spot to be in, however, it's down to Rovia against 3. No idea where the man is. He's found himself a 3rd here too with the pistol, and has now got to try and march onto 2 more. Just Nova and Good Boy standing between him and a round 1 win.
Doesn't have diffuser enhanced, so that's not going to be an option right now. Red Pink's coming out, battling to stay alive at the minute, Rovi. 8 HP, taken down close range with the shotgun by Nova. Fantastic stuff to kick things off from FearX. Alpha not getting enough out of that blitz. That's one of my pickups from that round particularly. Yeah. Wanders in, gets himself killed. If you're bringing a blitz at the minute, if you're bringing a Monty at the minute, your attack pretty much revolves around it. That's going to be the focus. They're the ones taking the attention. They're the ones trying to generate space for you there. You know, and they just didn't make enough use of it. Don't panic, Des. There isn't 2 blitzers. Just Blitz and IQ's pictures are quite similar on the same background there. For a second, I did. I looked and I was like, what?
So you had to reassure yourself by telling me not to panic.
Exactly that. I was like, what? But the character profile...
Wake up, Tim. This is a nightmare, I promise.
Just quite similar. I thought, we can't deal with one of them, let alone 2.
No, I mean, clearly they did deal with it pretty damn well, to be fair.
They did. FearX stood up very well to the shield.
Was very much put down incredibly quickly. And, you know, for all we said about Nova being a bit of a shield merchant and, you know, former coach, well, was a player, became a coach, now back towards being a player again, there'll always be that question marks around just how much he can contribute. But with 3 kills in the first round, you're certainly not going to be complaining anytime soon. FearX up 1-0, and we'll see how Alpha fare here attacking into the basement.
I think this is going to get more difficult for them, if anything, to be honest with you, Des. I think the entry kill, as I mentioned, is now going to become even more important. They need to get that early man advantage to be able to sweep from top floor down. They need control of Piano, because we've just seen FearX opening up vertical lines, which is going to make it difficult here for Alpha to breach and to move on in through that breach, but then also to plant, because there's going to be that vertical cover to prevent anybody getting into default plant spots. It looks like the push is potentially going to come in. They're going in through secret, or no, they're going to go in and look to clear any roamers out, which I like this. Use the blitz, get aggressive, move your way through. Instead, though, they're just going to try and hold the back half of the map and push in from there. Could still come undone from a top floor flank, so they need to make sure that they've got that on lock.
It's very typical that you want to try and get control of Tellers and Archives, but this electrified reinforced wall that sits in between Archives and Lobby kind of tells you where FearX want to hold here. They're doing a lot of vertical holding here and trying to keep that control away so that they can't play around the main wall. That's all well and good, but if you can't clear out these vertical players, you're going to pay the price. They found themselves 2 at least with Demic and Rimbo falling down. Now just 3 left standing and already having to chew through a few of these smokes in the back pocket. A C4 up over the top. Nova cannot be stopped. 2 kills in the round, 2 left standing. And I'm sure he fancies himself another one here.
Beautiful stuff from Nova there, exactly what they needed. Good boy on the swing, manages to take him down. 3 versus 1, and it looks for all the marbles like it's going to be another round heading to FearX. Nova able to just take the pistol headshot onto the blitz. Look at this, absolutely beautiful.
Oof,
One
nice.
Tap with the revolver. Good night.
Well, Nova is running the show. That's the only summary you can take from those first 2 rounds. He's got 6 kills across the pair of them. He is the final boss that apparently Alpha Team simply cannot bring down as it stands. I didn't hate how they started that round either, Alpha. I think getting the blitz into server nice and early will start to cause a bit of panic, because for FearX, the players that want to drop back through hatches, for example, are no longer able to do so. You're then going to be exposed to a player that will be holding you on these train angles, waiting for you to drop through, or potentially pushing into your backline, who aren't going to have enough support there from those vertical players. So, right, I don't want to say plan, but elements of a plan look nice. It just really didn't come together in the end, though. We've got to see him doing better here, though. FearX already getting started with a 2-0.
Yep, good start from them. They've looked very, very solid so far. To look at the opposite side of it, you know, yep, Alpha have done some good work here and there potentially, but FearX have just looked solid for it. They've had the answer every time. Yep, they've lost a couple of bodies along the way, but they keep themselves ahead in terms of man count. They keep those kills flowing and make sure that they're ahead at the end of the round. So good stuff from them. This time it's going to be a Piano hold. We're going to have a top floor presence again, which is not too much of a surprise. As I said, I think that was how FearX would always stack up to try and control Consulate here, is make sure that the extensions are in place, make sure that they spread far enough around the map to cause repeated problems for Alpha. You don't want them being able to play a default game, because that's pretty much probably all they've had time to prep for. What you want to do is throw a weird problem in here. Oh, there's an operator in copy. They wouldn't usually be somebody, you know, and just give them problems to solve, give them difficulties, and that's what's going to slow them down on the attack.
Well, at this point, even Nova's finding himself right up against the window. Obviously, sight being right adjacent, no surprise that he's hanging around here, but just enough to make sure they've got that sound. You knock out the glass, you can still hear through the barricades quite comfortably. And that's what to know if someone is trying to play on that window, they'll get a little bit of an earlier indication. Still trying to make this I said blast then, what am I on about? Trying to make the blitz work here as well, Ragnar. Obviously 0-2 so far. It has not been the dream start that you see many teams employing or getting out of a blitz. Really, everything's been on Roby's back so far, but you can't keep him relying on the one man to get things done for you. But square towards top yellow, they're in a good spot to be able to start charging on forward. It's cleared out all the barbed wire on the way up as well, some lower down, some here at the top, as you can see. Now it's about finding a target, and Rin going to find himself deleted by Bastion on the reverse repel.
Yep, great start from Alpha. Let's see this time if they can take advantage of the man count that they've got. That gives them a little bit more freedom with the blitz here, potentially. Ragnar can get a little bit more aggressive. They seem to have the right idea with the shield operator. They're just not really getting the right delivery a lot of the time. They're going in, trying to force people out of position, but never really managing it. It still seems to be on FearX's terms that they're dropping back and fighting. As we can see, all this fight is still going on over the top floor. They haven't dealt with him, but I don't know if Demic is aware he's being pushed on that door. As it is, they just have to drop back a little bit, but Alpha managed to stay on top. 2 versus 3 though. FearX keep fighting.
Well, Demic's found yet another. They basically conceded the entirety of the control of the west side of that top floor. in a spot now where Alpha's still got control somewhat. There's 3 of them against 2 here, but another one's been brought down. It's over the last 2 rounds. It's Demic in this one. Finds himself onto a 3, and now we're into a 2v2. Still have a smoke canister to play behind as well. Still got those 2 alarms out on field as well from the Oryx. Looking pretty set here to deal with the aggression coming out of Alpha. It's going to become a matter of patience now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only 30 seconds left to go, so Alpha are going to have to make a move here. And the question is, can they keep Slater alive? Fairly low health, 45. It's only going to take a couple of bullets, and they've got the vertical back. This has just become a big, big problem, potentially. Bailiff in hand, able to open up the angles, just preventing them moving around. They're just burning so much time, but there's the opportunity. Alpha, they need to take it now. They need to strike, get themselves into a position to plant. That's exactly what they're going to try to do. Can he stop it? Yes, he can!
Demic!
What a win from Demic! Beautiful finish. Hits the 1v2 at the end. Multiple kills through the round as well. He's just absolutely dominated Alpha.
Like I say, all 5 to 1 player there collecting those final 2. It's been over for the first couple. It's Demic in round 3.
Brilliant stuff.
I mean, fair play on the individual level, but it's a bit weird that rounds are having to play out in the fashion they are so far. Right recognition, I think, by Alpha on where they had to try and get a plant down there where it was going to be most secure to play against an Oryx on the vertical. And it was great by Demic to win the initial fight on the flank that let him make that play up on the top floor. But realistically, Alpha, I think, just found themselves getting a little bit too overzealous, a bit over the top. They were trying to force control, but we saw them get control of the cubby inside of one site. They had 3 players pushing in towards office itself. They had all the control they needed to make a plant happen if they wanted to on the window. I'm sure they were a little bit concerned about what's going on downstairs as well, but I don't know. They had what they needed. They forced players out of sight. They were able to get a drop in. I think actually they've now thought about it. They were lacking the hard breach to get that hatch open inside of the lounge room. That net's open up. They could drop in and get a plant down. Less of a concern for them, but again, did all the right steps. Just didn't quite have the final tools to get open what they needed to actually make a plant stick, and that is unfortunate.
I think FearX are doing a good job of keeping the pressure on Alpha as well. So Alpha get a kill, but FearX are then biting back at them, and they're taking, challenges on, and they're getting kills themselves, and they're bringing that man count back level a lot of the time. And the thing that it's doing is it's just grinding Alpha down. They're just not getting themselves into sort of confident control. So yeah, like I said, they use the blitz. They forced FearX back on the top floor, but they never really had confident control of the top floor. They started losing manpower up there, and by the end of the round, who's in control of top floor? Still FearX. And I think that's part of the problem for Alpha. And like I say, FearX are kind of creating that by, yes, they'll drop back a little bit, but really I feel like it's more about what FearX are willing to give up than what Alpha are actually taking away from them. And when FearX get to that line in the sand where they're kind of like, no, we're not willing to give up any more than this, there's a kill. There's another kill. There's another kill. And all of a sudden, that situation is now a 2v2. And it's winnable for FearX. And so I feel like it is very much to the beat of FearX's drum at the minute.
Yeah, they very much looked like this crossfire at top spiral as well, which meant if they were going to try and push in there and stop them getting, the top floor retaken off them, they had to go and fight for that. But we're just a little bit confused. The fact that a blitz steps into long desk and isn't aware there's a player in behind long desk kind of tells you the whole story. They just weren't aware of what they were coming into there. So it's kind of like, cool, we got the vertical. Now what? We've got to fight the perimeter rooms. Oh, we can't do that because we haven't got any information inside of there. And it's just like, it was a step too short, like I mentioned, in terms of not having hard breach as well. They could have had 2 or 3 players hang on the upstairs and try and make this plant happen once they've got that vertical control, but just couldn't quite pull it fully together. Maybe this tech timeout here, although the players obviously can't talk during this, they have to stay quiet, just wait for everyone else to get reconnected and back in towards the lobby. It'll still be a case to sit and pause and think about what needs to change here, because 3 rounds, 4 rounds in a row now, obviously we've seen FearX really being the ones fully in control.
Yeah, they are. Nova, Good Boy, Demic, all going very well in terms of their ratings and performance at the minute. And FearX feeling and looking, I think, very, very confident on Consulate. And that's a big problem for Alpha Team, of course, given that it was their map choice. And, you picked up on it at the time, Des. You voiced your concern, your wonderment at their choice to go here. And we're starting to see exactly why. Because, let's remember, it's their map choice, so it's not their side choice. Attack is not their side of choice. We would expect them to do better on the defense, but I fear that they're in serious danger over the next couple of rounds of this one, just getting too far ahead of them to be able to come back into it.
I do agree. Like I said earlier on, I've mentioned this back over on the A stream actually, it's like a little bit of a raising of the curtain so you know what's going on. We have to wait for players to join back in order, so we'll work our way through all the alpha players first, then the FearX players, but you have to join in order to make sure all the player cams and so on line up. So just bear with us for a couple of moments while we get everyone back in. They are starting to join through. We should be able to get underway with things again very, very shortly.
Well, we're going to be getting more and more settled in Montreal as the day goes on. Des, of course, only arriving yesterday. I haven't had a chance to have any poutine yet. A little bit of a disappointment on my part. I'll try and get some lockdown later on today, maybe.
I was talking about this at work a few days ago, and I mentioned I was going to Canada, and I have some poutine, and someone was like, poutine is overrated. Like, I don't understand why they don't just melt the cheese fully. Like, why do they leave cheese curds on it?
I do really like the... I'm not a big fan of, like, melty cheese.
Yeah, I like
so
both.
I really like the way
I'm just a cheese fan full stop. I love it melted, I love its curds. I don't particularly care. I'll just have it. And they were like, oh, it's just like
roll off the block.
They were like, it's just like glorified like chips and gravy then, isn't it? I'm like, well, yeah, but you put loads of stuff on it as well.
This is the thing. Dish. When you look at it as like a basic, yes, you know, it is just straight up chips, cheese, gravy, easy done. But here in Montreal, there's so many variations. There's so many. I've seen and like they bring in loads of different international cuisine ideas as well. So you can get like sort of. I don't want to say themed poutine. It feels like
it is themed. It is
poutine. Essentially, yeah. It felt like I don't know if I was cheapening the dish by saying that it was themed. You know, rather I don't know what else I would call it. But yeah, they use like inspiration from other like
you can get anything on top of poutine.
Really good, and there is some really good variations. So I'm looking forward to a bit of poutine. You know what else I'm looking forward to, Des?
More Siege.
I'm looking forward to a bit more Siege, and I believe that we've got everybody in our lobby. Flawless. Absolutely flawless.
Honestly.
We've got everybody in our lobby, so let's go. Right, FearX, if you're just joining us, this is Alpha Team's pick. It is the first map. The loser goes home. They will leave the tournament. This is for, as I would say, all the marbles. It's to continue on. Whoever wins will go into another elimination match later on today. It's not going to be an easy day for either of these two teams. If they want to survive and go through to Phase 2 on the basis that they lost their opening game yesterday.
I mean, they're against the loser of Black Dragons or G2. And knowing how Black Dragons played during playoffs, or G2 being, well, G2...
Shall we have a little update on the old G2 Black Dragons?
I haven't actually checked what's been going on.
I mean, it's not going to be. I can give you one, Des. It's not going to be completely live. If you don't, I mean, we've been talking about it for long enough now, so just mute us for 2 seconds if you don't want to know what's going on over there. But it's currently 6-5 on Lair to Black Dragons. It may be I may be a round behind there. But we are reaching a bit of a conclusion with Black Dragons kind of ahead at the minute.
For now. May not last forever. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on how that game continues as time wears on. This one itself is now, of course, as we said, back underway. So let's look at what's starting to change here. Immediately my eyes jump towards the Grim coming in for clip here as well. Is that going to be a massive game changer for them? Maybe not. What it will do, I think, is let them take control of areas of the map a little bit better because they've got a little bit unstuck, I think, at times outside of course, Demic's amazing round last time round has been trying to deal with players that sat inside a difficult position, sat in behind long desks, for example, or have got themselves tucked in on a corner. The Grim helps you out with that sort of thing, but also helps you flood rooms if you want to with those mechanical bees to instantly start tagging whoever may still be present. It's very good for taking map control. So I think here having that as a piece on side is a really good call on their side. Of course, joined up by the Dokkaebi for getting the map cleared out early in the round. More looking towards the Grim to be their execute focus operator.
I like what we were seeing there from Bastion, drawn just ahead of him. So they're trying to work well as a team to get those entry kills. It's just not panning out for them though. As Mephi manages to take down Rover, the answer is there though. Bastion, as he was being drawn in, does manage to find Good Boy. Takes down the Kaid and levels things up at 4 versus 4. Looking to have a little swing potentially onto Longdes. Does manage to take down Demic, and that's the Warden gone, Des. That could be an important part of the puzzle removed for Alpha to get a successful attack.
I was about to say Ragnar there was getting pushed by 2, so he was guaranteed to get traded, and that's exactly what FearX secured, but is that really what you want? Trade in this spot when you're now down in numbers? It's a 2 versus 3 with about 75 seconds still to play. All smoke canisters on side, including Keebers, but Nova's going to carry on how he started. Tim finds clip himself here. No trade guarantee on the other side, and now it's a 2 versus 2.
Yep, the final boss has shown himself once again. As Nova says, 4v2. Let's make that 2v2. That sounds a lot fairer to Nova. And so we now find ourselves. Need to be careful there. Just taking the flash out. The utility could have been his undoing. 45 seconds left, so Alpha have got plenty of time to work with. They've got 6 active drones. They have got them in their control if they want to take it.
What is going on? That is the most ridiculous fight I think I've ever seen. Either way, it's Bastion who walks away with the kill off the back of a knife and then rounds for the long-range kill. It was his time in the spotlight, and surely has found it, but maybe not in the fashion they would have liked.
Not sure about the end of that one, Des.
No. No.
Not sure about the end of that one. But Alpha, one way or another, they managed to get themselves a round on the board, and that's important for them. It was a nice attack that got themselves in. Like I said, I like what I was seeing from Bastion. Drone at his feet, going in, aggressive entry. A way to look at entry and drone in, it's an important synergy between a support player and an entry player, and that is how far ahead is that drone. So the further the drone is ahead of your entry player, the less aggressive that entry clearance is, because more time that you're going to have to take to react to that information, more time for defenders to move, to drop away, to not have that fight coming their way. So the drone was right at Bastion's feet. It was about 6 feet, 8 feet in front of him. So, it just shows that Alpha are playing with some confidence. Get in there and get really ready for those fights, and hopefully that's just going to build a little bit of momentum for them.
Going to have ourselves another rehost here in a second as well. As you can see, Demic has crashed out again, so we'll get that sorted and get ourselves back into it once more. The chance to see the one round play out, Tim, but at least for Alpha, after the last tech timeout that we had, we did see them walk away with the round, so you can't complain all that much, I don't think.
No, I'm sure they'll be happy enough to. They can't talk, they can't talk to each other, but mentally they can consolidate at least. Take the positives from the round that they've won. It was wobbly at times, but you've got to be able to win those scrappy rounds as well. It's all well and good having the flawless rounds, but you've got to be able to win the tough ones as well. And Alpha were able to get it done. The big thing for Alpha at the minute, like I say, is making sure that they start to manage these 4v2 situations better. We've seen it quite a few times where they sort of 4v2, 3v2, and FearX are able to claw things back. But the big problem is that FearX don't seem to be having to do very much to claw it back. We haven't seen a huge flank. We haven't seen, some crazy play. Generally what we've seen is Demic going over, holding a long angle, and just getting 2 kills as people stray across it.
Yep.
So that's something that Alpha need to be careful of. Oftentimes, these 4v2s are coming along with time on the clock as well. They had a minute that time. They had 6 drones on the field. They had a number of 3, 4, maybe even 5 in the hands of active players who could have used them and droned. So in a 4v2 with a minute on the board, I want to see another little drone in phase. I want to make it as difficult as possible for those defenders. Get drones in there. Let them know that you know exactly where they are, and then push together. Put them in lose-lose situations. If you recognise that Nova's on that window, you've got time to rotate somebody, put him on the window, then challenge him from the front side and the window simultaneously. You're going to create those lose-lose situations, and I think that's what Alpha need to be looking towards.
It doesn't feel the most adaptive to what they're being faced up against, is the best way that I can describe it. But as a quick update on our other game over on the A stream, Tim. G2 were up 6-1. It now is 6-6, and they're going to overtime.
A little bit of overtime.
That is proving to be one hell of a series, to be fair. Like 7-5 the first map. Now it's overtime in the second. May well demand the third map. Or G2 close it out in 2?
I mean, could we expect any less? We know G2 have had their issues against Brazilian teams in the past. It's not always smooth sailing for them.
Yeah.
To be fair, Black Dragons, if you're unaware of Black Dragons, if you didn't get a chance to see too much of the Brazilian stage, Des and I cast a lot of it. We were very fortunate to cover it. It was some great siege played over there. But Black Dragons
1 point from the regular season.
Were terrible. They were terrible, Des. Through the regular stage, they didn't play very well. It was kind of like you had these 2 teams. You had Ask and Hornet, and then you had everybody else. And that's not to say that everybody else was playing badly and Ask and Hornet were playing great. What it's to say is they just didn't feel like they were sort of contributing to each other's game. Guto had great moments through the stage, but they just didn't seem to be gelling as a 5 fantastically. And then a switch was just flicked for LCQ, and all of a sudden Black Dragons come out looking fantastic, absolutely dominate everybody in LCQ, including current world champions Furia, to get themselves here to phase 1. So it's been a fantastic story for them, and it's no surprise to see that they go in the distance with G2.
That in itself is a crazy story that Furia aren't even here at this major.
And it's because of Black Dragons. They dropped out. Well, it's not just because of Black Dragons, it's because of Furia's performances through the stage as well, is the reality. They lost a lot of matches that really they should have,
no.
they shouldn't have. They should have been picking wins up, and they were just unable to do it. They really didn't, look like themselves through stage 2. Not to sort of call out individual players, but there was 2 or 3 that really, weren't delivering the sort of performances that we've come to expect from that side.
Yep. Well, as you can see, I think we were going through a little PC assessment there of Demic's PC to make sure it's okay, but by the looks of it, things are starting to now come back together.
Quick spin on the mouse to make sure that's okay as well.
I mean, always. It was the bolo spin that always used to get me back in the day.
Spin, of course. You need a quick bolo spin. Just make sure that everything's in place with the mouse as well.
That it can survive a spin.
Yep, absolutely.
They should flick too hard and try and take someone's head off.
Love to see it. I tried it once. I put my mouse through the wall.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Still in there these days. Lodged him.
Just left it.
Made it a feature piece.
Just left it, didn't I? Just painted some cracks around it.
Make it look like you've really gone for a big flick.
Put some LEDs on it.
Well, Alpha are all back in the lobby, so we'll just hold on for FearX, and then hopefully we should be... Are you just really laughing at the thought of...
The thought of me ploughing my mouse into my wall by trying to do a bolo spin, which, to be fair, would probably be about accurate. I don't have the skates on it for that sort of action.
The thing is, mice are so light these days, though, that you wouldn't be able to really do any real
are.
serious damage with them, to be honest, though.
Oh, that's true.
They'll do like the light mouse age that we're in. I got like an old wired mouse man the other day. I was cleaning through all my stuff, and I got an old mouse, and I was just like, I haven't used that in ages. I put it on my desk, and it felt like trying to move like a 2 kilogram weight. I was just like, this is so heavy. Yeah. How did I ever use this for gaming before?
Well, I've got different mice for different games.
Oh, here we are. You're the worst kind of person.
I'm not. I've just got...
Like, go on then. What do you use for what then? What do you use for what?
I've got 2 different mice. I've got a light one that I use for FPSs like Siege. Yeah. And it's very uncomplicated. Just a couple of buttons. That's it. And then I've got a heavier one that I use for like RPG games. That's got a few side buttons and obviously. No, I use my light one for that.
I do, yeah. Oh, okay.
I do. But yeah, it's just got, it's got a few more buttons on the side, so I've got, I can do a little bit more with it without needing my keyboard.
Do you leave them both plugged in at all times?
What's my system? So, no, they're both pretty much. I mean, they're both active.
Yeah.
Like the wireless dongles are plugged in for both, so
but
they
you
are
turn them
both
off.
active. But yeah, I just turn them off. I try to remember. I'm not very good with it. I try to remember to charge them whilst I'm using the other one. But frequently when I'm on Siege, my light one will sort of run out of battery, and then I have to be chained to my desk with the charging cable, and it just all goes. I go from like a 0.8 down to like a 0.6. Then
I was about to say, do you change over to using your heavy one, and then everyone knows why things start to go from bad to worse? Yeah. I feel like this is information the stack needs to know.
I don't feel it is. I feel like I'll start getting targeted, and I won't get asked to the stack anymore. I'm there for the vibes, Des. I'm there for the vibes.
You bring the vibes, mate. That's your job. That's your job. Well, the job behind the scenes is done. The crash has been rectified. We are back into game. Round 5 then. Let's get into it. After our last free host, that's when Alpha managed to win the previous round off the back of Bastion, doing a little bit of magic. Otherwise, it's been all FearX. Mainly, though, that's been down to Demic and down to Nova, working all the magic they have across those first few rounds. 2 3Ks and a 5K coming out in those rounds. So, yet to really see, I'd say, an emphatic team victory for FearX yet, which makes me think that this tale is far from over.
Well, let's see if there are any more twists in the tale. That is going to be the question. We're going to have the split sight, interestingly, coming in from FearX. We don't see this one too often. Not to say that we never see it, but Teller's Archives is going to be our battleground. Couple of ways that this could be attacked. I think it's actually a good choice from FearX. If you're playing against a team, it feels a little bit ruthless. You're playing against a team with a couple of subs. You know what? We're going to go to Tellers and Archives. Let's see if you know how to attack that one. And I love it. I'm here for it. At the end of the day, you need to get the wins. You can only play what's in front of you, and I'm here for it. It's going to be a tough one. So multiple ways to attack. Alpha have got a choice of potentially taking top floor, take over top floor, try and get control of admin in particular, use that verticality to get down into Tellers and get a plant inside of there, but then they need to worry about what's going on underneath. Alternatively, there is a push, arguably, just going in through garage and sweeping across the bottom floor, not really worrying too much about what's going on above, and try, again, maybe get a little bit of admin and visa control if you can to prevent that verticality and get a plant down inside of Archives. That's another option that you've got. So we'll see which Alpha go with. At the minute, it looks like they're shaping up towards maybe a little bit of top floor, although saying that, no, they're stacking up on secret here. So they could be looking to just go straight down the stairwell and a little bit of sort of route 1 in towards side.
Not too... I mean, I get it, but by the same token, I'm not too sure about this one.
I don't think it'll work, but I get it.
The thing for this site is you have to be so adaptive to what the defense brings to the table. And like I said earlier on, with 2 subs in there, maybe being adaptive in the middle of a round isn't going to be Alpha's strongest point.
No.
At this point, it kind of feels like, okay, we're bringing along what we brought along. It's not really designed to counter what we've seen. It's just we feel we can really just kind of slam through a brick wall here with this comp that we brought along. But it feels like they sort of stalled out a little bit. They looked like, you say, sort of fixed up for a rush or a really heavy push all of a sudden. But you look at the lineup they've got here. Nomad wants to get ground and make sure it's safe. The Ram wants to get in above. You've got the execute capacity coming out from the Glass and the sort of backstab potential of the Nook here. A lot of different things all going on that don't all make a ton of sense. So I'm still really waiting to see what happens. If nothing else, it feels like you might see a server-based execute coming in from Blue.
Potentially. It's going to be a brute force push if that is the case. That's just about grabbing as much space as you need and no more, really, I think. Although the Ram on side suggests that you're maybe going to go for a little bit of verticality.
Why are we still top floor at this point in the round? Like, it's been ages. It's been 2 minutes and no one's looking anywhere near site at the minute.
This is what I mean. I don't think they're really confident themselves in exactly what they need. I think this is kind of a, just sort of chuck it at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, we've got this top floor now, so let's just see if we can get a bit of verticality. Is there an option for us to put the diffuser down? To be honest, though, FearX are not really challenging too much here. The diffuser's going to start going down. They're tickling it inside of tellers, and in all honesty, Des, I'm not sure that FearX are in control.
I mean, they've got zero idea what's going on as they're rounding the corner and just slamming them in the head at this point. Only fine does a C4 kill come off, but this has been one of the weirdest rounds that I've seen in a while, where it feels like for 2 minutes nothing happened. And then Alpha have started picking up individual kills here half the time with FearX not even shooting back. That was just odd.
I think that FearX might have picked that site on the basis that I said that Alpha have got a couple of subs. Let's just chuck a weird site at them, see what they do. But I don't think FearX were ready for the site. In all honesty, no. I don't think they had a plan. Really, it was very easy for Alpha to take top floor and to take blue. They were then able to pretty much walk down into Visa. They had tellers. FearX never put up any challenge against them. It was like you said, there was the longest time of nothing happening, and then Alpha just kind of able to walk into space and take it.
It was the push down blue and that free kill onto the player that was sat watching in towards server that I was like, what? Why is this even a thing? Because you've got the Pulse on side who was watching for a plant attempt going down, which they did see coming through, but the Pulse also helps you know when someone is heading towards stairs inside of Archives to then be able to come running down and towards server, and that is when you spin and go for a challenge. But almost like without that being a call or any kind of information that a player was pushing down those stairs, he's looking completely the wrong way and gets blindsided by the player coming in from blue. And opening up that wall, okay, sure, you've got a Maverick on side, it's pretty quiet. You should still at least have an inkling when that might be getting opened up here and not be completely oblivious to the fact you're about to get shot in the head for no reason. So I think FearX were just completely unaware in that round, or at least that's how it looked, to what on earth Alpha were trying despite having a blitz on side. It was just very weird.
Well, let's see if we go back to sort of business as usual in round 6. Going to be our final defensive round for FearX. They need to win this, to be honest. They've come in here. They've had the choice of side start to begin with. They've gone with defense. So they need to be coming away with a 4-2 and giving themselves an advantage. They've got the castle this time, which I like. I think, again, as I've said, it's about creating problems for Alpha. It's about creating situations that they have to think around, that maybe their initial plan now goes out of the window because they have to deal with the castle, because they have to rethink that. They do have the Zafir on side, so Rovi is going to be particularly important here, I think, in just enabling them to deal with that quickly. In lieu of that, they could use the Rotero drones, of course, but just a little bit more risky when you're sort of reliant on them to take a castle out. They can be shot out quite easily if somebody's watching them.
I'm just hoping that now we're a little bit more dug in, and we've got, looking at the comp coming out from FearX, it really is lockdown, right? Like full, no one gets in, you've got to get past the Clash, you've got to get past smokes, you've got to get past Goyo canisters. They're really playing hard in the denial game here rather than trying to open anything else up for the other side. And I think Alpha at least have respected a little bit of fact there's things like the castle on side. You've got the Goyo here, you've got the Zofia too. No Twitch, which normally you'd see a team leaning towards if you're seeing a Goyo on side. Especially when you've got targets to also bring down like the F-Nats. There's a lot that a Twitch could do in this round, but not brought along to the party or so as it stands. So I expect a lot of map control to be available to the attackers here if they want it. FearX again are playing quite dug in behind this very, very entrenched defensive lineup. So we'll see how things go over the next 60 seconds or so, but please to God, let's not get shot in the back by something random.
Doesn't look like it'll be the case for now, at least. Bastion's just going to be looking to try and walk up those Visa stairs potentially, but just don't know whether Alpha have got a solution to this position for the time being. It's always sort of the linchpin of any attack coming through is to try and clear out that vending machine position, and just playing in behind the shield is of course going to make that difficult. They're looking to try and get themselves pushing forward in towards meeting. There's the first challenge. Click manages to take down Mephi. And Alpha are really waking up into this, Des, over the last couple of rounds particularly. Starting to win more of those gunfights. Starting to give themselves the opportunity inside of rounds.
I mean, it's a bit too easy for Clip to step in there and just turn around and win a 1v1 quite comfortably. Yes, loses about half his HP in the process, but no trade attempt, no response coming out from the other side. Sure enough, the right target being found, and that's your Clash gone as well. Good Boy at least steps up and secures what I'll call a very, very delayed trade on towards Clip here. But can they hold off? Demic finding one more for himself as well, down to a 3 versus 3. But for now, at least, the numbers advantage is with Alpha. 3 versus 1 breaks out, and Demic has got it all to do by himself.
Alpha have dealt with that position in Visa Hall fantastically well down by Vending, enabling them to get on into sight, hold that position. They've then got kills from inside of sight. The last couple of rounds have been particularly better from Alpha because they've taken control of the map. If you remember in the early rounds, I said they just never had any confident control. They were only sort of taking what was given to them. That's not the case any longer. We see that difference in that round. They've come forward. They haven't been given Meeting Door. They haven't been given Vending and Visa Hall. They've gone in there and taken it. They've gone in there and removed it. And that has been much, much better from Alpha.
Another rehost to come in here, I believe, as we have not seen the side swap. So I believe we'll need to see the changeover come through in a second, which will be another rehost at the 3-3 points in the half. So, if nothing else, we saw FearX, as we mentioned. You know, I said earlier on, we've seen them play well as individuals. We've seen 2 great rounds from Demic, from Nova, and 1 really good round from Demic with the 5k to himself. Outside of that, not really seen team play being a part of their game, and I think that was really evident in those final 3 rounds of the half. Alpha have kind of woke up into things a little bit, figured themselves out a little bit better, and it feels now they've got that edge, that little bit of extra sharpness than what FearX have brought to the table so far. And I know now we're about to switch sides and see how things play out. I'm just a little bit nervous that FearX on the attack have really got to come in sharp, and with one of those shield operators banned away, Nova slightly handicapped there. Are they going to be able to do that? We'll see.
Yeah, I think the first sort of round 7 and round 8 particularly are going to be key to this one. They're going to be really important. If Alpha, you know, let's remember, attack would not necessarily have been their chosen side start. They picked the map, and the defense was chosen by FearX. So getting themselves onto the defense of their own map now, if they can pick up 7 and 8 and go 5-3 up, then all of a sudden you start looking at it and you're thinking it's going to be pretty difficult for FearX to get that locked down. So I think, you know, this tech pause, whilst they can't speak to each other or anything, you know, Alpha probably, it's just a nice little reset for them before they go into that second half.
Absolutely. And for them, it's, I think for both teams, it's a good chance to have that pause. You're changing sides as well. Like, yes, you can't talk about it, but at least it's a bit of a reset. As you can see here, dead silence. You can't say a word, Tim. It has to be very, very good. And I'm wondering, given where the admin was currently hovering around Demic, is like there's no issue with the PC potentially. I think we're okay though. As everyone's getting back into lobby, and we've got 1 more player left to join, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, that's it. Should be quite a quick one. We just need to get everybody fired in, and off we will go. So we've got a situation where we are 3-3 at the half. Of course, whoever loses this best of 3 will be going home, will be leaving the Montreal Major. Their job here will be done. They will be on their way despite all that hard work through stage 2 to arrive here. So both of them going to be giving absolutely everything to it. Reminder for everybody as well, Alpha of course playing with a couple of substitutes at the minute. They don't have their full normal lineup. Martin and Gaspro are missing from the lineup and have been replaced just for this tournament. So it's not an easy one, and to be honest, you know, anything we've got to be sort of fair to Alpha. Anything that they get is a bonus, realistically. You know, coming in with short notice, having to change things up, as we've said, I feel like they've actually, it didn't start well for them at the beginning. It looked like FearX were going to run away with things after they picked up the first 3 rounds, and FearX seemed to have the key. You know, you're playing against a team that have got substitutes in there that cause them a bit of chaos, get out on the roam, you know, keep the pressure on them, which is what FearX were doing. But then they seem to have switched off from it in the second 3. And Alpha, by contrast, have really grown into the game. They've they've started, as I've said, taking space rather than just being given space. They've, started using utility better. We saw it was a little bit of a random round, but we saw the use of the air jabs and the boogie drones on the ram to try and just, push FearX around a little bit on that split site of Tellers and Archives to be able to create the space to move down and to move into and think about getting a plant. And it's definitely been better in that sort of second quarter from Alpha.
Well, now we're going to see how they do things on the defensive side. And this is where I get a little bit nervous for FearX. Like, I think I know by the numbers, at least in the stage, they looked good on the attacking side, but what bothers me is when you get to the international stage, as we so often see, it is a completely different ball game. You can come in being like top rated around the world for entries, for number of plants that you're getting down on average. All these kind of things work wonderfully when you're in your national league. When it comes around to playing against the big boys on an international stage, things can turn around entirely. So what we really need is a solid half coming out from FearX on the attacking side here. Something tells me, Tim, Alpha are not going to make that easy for them. Not with how much confidence they've built over those last 3 rounds.
No, I think Alpha are going to look at this and think there's an opportunity to get a map here. And then, who knows what happens. Kind of all bets are off at that point. Like I said, for me, it was essential for them to get this first map. They're going to be looking towards a decider on Clubhouse, which even with substitutes coming in, Clubhouse is pretty much as default as it gets at pro level. Every team needs to have a good Clubhouse. And so players that are stepping in, whether it be in scrims, whether it be in ranked, whether it be in, the bits of practice and planning that they've been able to do before the tournament, are going to be aware of Clubhouse, are going to be aware of what he's doing. So there's a real opportunity if Alpha can get themselves to that. And in order to get to Clubhouse, they guarantee themselves that opportunity if they win here, regardless of what happens in map 2. Maybe they win it in map 2, but even if they don't, they get that opportunity on Clubhouse. So, next couple of rounds, really, really big for Alpha. And they've got a blitz going against them. It's not ideal. And
really big for FearX as well. It's been for both teams. It's very deciding, I think, is the way to describe it. How they get started in this half will impact a hell of a lot. Immediately then you see the Flores Rotero drone came on through. Immediately matched out, though, by a smoke from the other side, aware that top yellow is where the action is going to start kicking off. Now, at this point, really, is where you can start to delay more if you want to. Ragnar here, of course, got 2 of those smoke babes still to play behind. If he uses them now, there won't be any around for the actual execute itself. They have to be very careful of the timing and when they actually use these. Second one has already been deployed out here, and here comes the march on forward, and a run out comes on through. It's Rovi roaming around, brings down Demic, and the blitz tries his best, but Ragnar is there for the assist and make sure that Alpha can hold on.
Yeah, that was really good stuff for Alpha to be able to hold on, take down a couple of key operators. Rovi is roaming around and just causing an absolute nuisance of himself. Picks up one on the run out, then one on yellow stairs, and you feel like it's been a big part of breaking the attack of FearX, taking away that window play, taking away the blitz, Nova just being able to remove that shield. It's just going to be a tough one for them now as Bastion able to take down Good Boy 3 versus 1. Alpha likely to hold on, and Nova's going to have to try and find in the next round that form that he had through the first half.
I've got to say, Rin has been invisible so far this game.
I don't think I've said Rin's name once,
actually. That's what I mean. I just thought then as I saw in the end as he was the final one left against 2 or 3, I was like, I haven't actually said Rin's name once, outside of a couple of times when I've watched him die to something random, like being killed by a buck through the floor when he was playing on the Clash. But again, for a player that when we look back at it was the epitome of like Korean siege. Like everyone was really excited by Rin. It was exciting. He would just charge on through and pick off 2 or 3 players by himself. He was in that 1v1 against Souls that we often refer to back in Sweden in 21.
Amazing.
Ultimately lost it, which would have seen them going through to the final, which would have been absolutely crazy. But I don't know. Very much a shadow of his former self, I think, is my main concern with Rin.
1-7 at the minute.
Yep.
I know that we don't have because of the rebuild of the lobby, we don't have the updated numbers on screen, but I can tell you, 1-7, 0-2 on the entry for Rin. Very, very difficult game for him so far. And like you say, you just feel it could be the difference maker for FearX. Somebody like that to step up and really catapult themselves into this one. Couple of big rounds. We always expected something from Rin in the mid round. It was always those important 2 and 3Ks that had just turned the round on its head. Or maybe just a big flash on the entry, a couple of kills, and all of a sudden the round is just going in favour of his team. So definitely need to see a little bit of a repeat of that. I tell you what, they're getting cheeky there. Rovi, after that last round, couple of kills, really starting to feel himself. Warden,
no less as well, one of the ones that you'd expect to be able to hold on, like for later in the round when the flashes start coming on through from the blitz shield or smokes start going down, but nope. Wanted to chance it quite early on, of course, knows that he was safe in that position. So if he were to catch someone, hey, whole new conversation we're having at this point. Some more trying his luck more than anything else. The FearX, once again, you've got Nova sitting on this Blitz. You know full well that if he doesn't have the Monty available, he's playing Blitz. He ain't got the Monty available, ain't got the Blitz available, he's playing Monty. If neither are available, he's playing Thermite. That is his go-to bread and butter, and it's pretty much all he does. So Alpha will probably run into that and know that they are going to see Blitz every single round here, and probably feel they can deal with it quite comfortably. Otherwise, why ban the Monty away, and why not instead ban the Blitz?
Yeah, I mean, they dealt with it fantastically last round, and they're just going to be looking for more of the same. For the time being, FearX have kind of got themselves into some initial positions, and they're just going to be holding angles now. I'm not seeing any droning going on, just the 1-2 now out there. So I was just going to say, it's kind of like they've reached that point of the round. They've hit that pause. We've got into position. Need to do a bit of droning. They've now done that, so they can start working the verticals. This is going to help them to get this opened up. I'm just interested to see everybody. I think, no, there's one on the mid floor at the minute from Alpha. So the real question is, at what point did they maybe make a move and see if they can get themselves into piano and maybe find a kill onto the Ram, maybe make things a little bit difficult from above.
I think they really want a bit of pressure to come in here from the Blitz on the other side to be able to suppress any kind of attempted tricking coming onto the wall or anything of the sort. And sure enough, they'll be able to get the wall open at this point. But the freeze comes on through. Maybe not quite the ideal place to chuck it, mind you. It's too easy to shoot away, as we've just found out. C4 unfortunately wasted, even with the projectile lines. Like, being chucked on top is not the ideal place for it to be. And that means the C4 is offline for them. Not the best start to the defense for Alpha, but for FearX, they've only got 60 seconds on which to pull off and execute here.
Yeah, a little bit of a struggle for him. Alpha could just really do with, you know, something happening on that upper floor. Good Boy has already managed to take one down, and he's just going to now be roaming around. He could even go for a little backstab, get down spiral, you know, cause a little bit of a problem down at the bottom there. As it is, we're going to have the utility pouring in. The Warden in key position to try and prevent anything happening with the Blitz. The flash will not be successful. Just getting hung up on the deployable, but somehow goes over the top. Manages to find one. Also one down. Bastion has been put on his backside outside of security. Demic taken down by Ragnar as they start to fight back, but it leaves them effectively 2v4. Bastion is finished off 2v3. So that's something to say about it, but Nova is getting the diffuser down.
And just the one left standing here in the form of Slaters as well, which I don't think he'll be able to get away with. They've got the vertical, they've got the breach itself, they've got a shield on side, everything going the way of FearX. At least here they've managed to find the pieces they need to. May have lost a couple of players in less than spectacular fashion, but it's at the very least managed to get the job done. And as Nova watches on, feeds across that information back and forth, all you're really going to see here is this time tick down until someone steps across and picks up the closing kill.
Yeah, that's it. Nova's just, you know, using that shield lean, you know, really smartly to just feed that information in, not exposing his legs or anything else, just lean around that pillar, give the information. He's coming from security, and then as soon as he's within range, bang, hits the flash, gets himself the final kill, and that was a much better round from FearX on the attack, much better round from Nova as well on the Blitz. They used that shield well. I don't feel like Alpha maybe did enough to challenge on those upper floors. They did have one roaming up there. Good Boy was able to get the kill, but it just kind of felt like they'd given it over pretty easily. We saw FearX moving quite quickly. Round about the 2-minute mark, they had that pause. The drones went out. 15 seconds later, we see the Ram working above. There's no real challenge into piano, and Alpha were just kind of holding on inside a site, waiting for those fights to come to them, and it was just far too long for them to try and hold on. Ultimately, they were just ground down, and then in goes the Blitz, and we had a little bit of a wild ride over the shield, managed to get the kill, and yeah, FearX doing really well with the space that they were given.
And in case you want another update on what's going on the A stream, well, G2 have now won 2-0, winning that second map of Lair 8-7. Lawyer himself going 18-11 and then 5-1 on entry. Really giving it to his old teammates there and just saying there's a reason why I left you, and now you see why that is. A good performance from them, and of course, that now pushes Black Dragons down into this lower bracket to face off against one of these two teams. So at least we know who the opponent's going to be.
I mean, if you're one of these two teams, they're obviously not going to know.
And you're against Black Dragons.
It's not ideal, is it?
No, it's not.
You know, I mean, neither was going to be. You know, G2 or Black Dragons were always going to be a difficult next option. But are we going to have a little jump out here? It's we've just got one of Alpha sat on a window at the minute. Rovi
Surely
seems kind of keen, but I think he's just going to... I think he was more waiting to see if there was an opportunity came his way, maybe on the rappel or anything else. But as it doesn't, he's going to dip himself away. I think that's absolutely fine from Alpha.
It's a self-rid of a drone. That's the most important part to look for. To keep denying the information away from the other side of FearX, who, as we remarked earlier on, they love playing mute. That was taken away from them. It definitely factored into that first half, and Alpha themselves have now got to adapt to not having it in their lineup in this second half. It's why, again, you're seeing the Mozzie brought along. Not just because he got buffed, but also because of that. A mute on side, well, is the next best thing that you can afford to bring along into the lineup. For now, at least, largely untroubled, though, as FearX is still getting themselves set up and trying to look for a way in towards the building here. Burning through a lot of their utility as well. Smokes have come out. Sense lines coming in as well. Charge comes on through, but you're against the Warden here, of course. He's not too affected, and he's giving him the run around there, Tim. Slater bringing down Nova, instantly traded out, but look at it. It is trade central right now. Call it the stock exchange. Back and forth between the two, but it's Alpha with the man advantage when all is said and done.
Yeah, I don't know if that was purposeful from the Blitz, you know, the push in there, finding the Warden, or is it just who it happens to be that you've come across? I would hope it was the latter, because it really didn't work out. That's going to be one of your direct counters when you're playing on the Blitz, and we see exactly what can happen. 3 versus 3 though, as Slater and Bastion have now been taken down. 1 minute 10 left on the clock. FearX don't need to get carried away here. They've got a couple of drones that they can use between Mephi and Demic. Ragnar, however, manages to find one, but as always, the answer is there. FearX keeping this close.
Close enough that they can get it over the line, though. Pulled themselves in the lead. Still TBD. 50 seconds to play is a lot of time to work with here as well. Only problem is, not tons of information. Still the 2 drones on side. No secondary utility to work with, but a lot of noise that can come out of that ram if they get it in the right position. Klipster drops himself away, rounding back in towards side to join his teammate. The most important thing I feel to guarantee here is trades if it comes down to that. And here's that noise I was on about. Look skywards. He just misses his man. Not going to have a chance to pick him off here. It's going to have to come down to a straight-up shootout with about 10 seconds on the clock, Tim.
Yeah, the movement just not kind to him there. There was definitely an opportunity. He's getting those pings in. The utils being used well. Demic does manage to find him eventually. 1 versus 2. Clip with 15 seconds left to hold on. He sees the drop. He gets the drop. He takes down Demic 1v1. Mephi decides it's time to try and put that case down. I think he can stick it here potentially, but the challenge is going to come very quickly, but it doesn't matter. It's not too quick for Mephi, who spins on a dime and finds his man.
That was a massive risk from Mephi as well. If Clip backs away there, doubts himself for half a second, they lose that round. There was no time left to play with, and the diffuser itself was, what, a second away from being complete? Definitely I want to say an experience call there. Mephi, I know he's still quite young, but been around for a couple of years now and knows all too well in those situations. You've got to make your shots count, and does just that. FearX up to 5 and 4. It still feels too difficult to call which way it goes, and God knows what happens on map 2 when we get there, Tim.
Absolutely anybody's at the minute. Like I say, I feel like it's a difficult one to call, but I feel like this first map is a real big determining factor in this matchup. You know, it's not to say that whoever wins it wins the game, but I feel like if Alpha win it, we probably see a third map. I feel if FearX win it, it maybe wins them the game, because I feel like Bank's going to be very difficult for Alpha. It's, you know, an even bigger map than Consulate in many ways. There's lots of work to be done there, you know, particularly when you're attacking. I think it's going to be a tough one for them. So, you know, they don't have the sort of small, twisty little spaces to deal with like they do on Consulate. You know, all those little corners that they can hide in, all those little sort of tricky movements that they can make. That's really not the case on Bank. It's big, it's open, there's long lines of sight, and we've already seen FearX benefiting from them, particularly in the first 3 rounds of this one. I think it'll be more of the same on Bank, so Alpha, I still remain with the same opinion. They've got to get something going here, and they try and Clip. He's wanting to get aggressive with that T5 on the admin windows, just looking to get himself a little pick if he can. Takes down the drone. He knows where the push is going to come towards now, so he can call that out, and his team can potentially adjust if they weren't already facing up towards that side of the map. But FearX certainly taking their time about getting on in.
Why not? Drones up again through the window. I've seen this a couple of times now where quite early on they'll shoot the window open, chuck a drone up there, and immediately there is an Alpha player there ready to collect the drone for free. Yeah. Whereas other teams might wait, get someone on rappel, for example, trying to capitalize on any information that comes off a drone being shot. You haven't seen that coming out of Alpha so far, outside of FearX, sorry, on the other side of things. Not that it's like a massively significant problem, but just want to be aware of, please. Third time lucky, he manages to get his man. Clip at the same time gets rid of Mephi, and Alpha already into a 5v3. They were like, right, enough of this droning nonsense, enough of this rappel and playing slow. We're coming for you.
How many times are they going to let Rovi run out on them is the question. You know, that's not the first time that's happened, and it's something that they need to be dealing with here, whether that be through drones, whether that be through, you know, physically having somebody watching. If anything, they could potentially bait that out. Get on the rappel. You know, Rovi might come out of a door. Have somebody watching it. Get yourself a free kill. They need to be learning those sort of player tendencies that are coming out of Alpha and making sure they don't allow it to continue. 3 versus 5, a minute 15 left to go. This is going to be a tough round for FearX, and I think we might just see this going to 5-5 and a guarantee of all 12.
Double Frostbite being hit as well. Good boy and Rin. At least now their location given away. Of course, back in the day when you used to get the indicator on where those goo mines were, they served as very good bits of information. Now it's purely a sound call that you can lean on, but here we go. 2 players pushing on forward, forced to come out from behind the shield as well due to the nade, and Rin will collect his man. Goodbye going to be recoverable, at least for a second here. For Alpha, 4 players still stood up here on full HP. On the other side, 2 on below 100%. It's not looking too good for FearX. There's only 30 seconds left to play.
No, going to be very difficult for them to brute force this. We've got Rovi just looking to get another challenge. Will do so successfully. Started things off with the run out. Manages to get another one up there and retake that vending machine area. How about that though? Demic over the top rope down into the yellow stairwell. Manages to find Clip, but Slater's there for the trade. Last one comes in through bathroom window. Has to take out the frost mat, and that means it's all she wrote in the round. Slater's managed to take down that last man, and that is going to see us getting at least all 12 out of this one, and it's really heating up here in these final rounds. It's
so back and forth between the two, you just don't know round to round what to expect. Like for Alpha in that round there, it was the response, I think, to realizing, right, they've got 3 or 4 players sat on rappel trying to get control of admin. Jump out, boys, let's try and make some magic happen. Well, jump outs, run outs in this case, and managed to find 2 early in the round. And this is the thing for FearX, like I remarked on the whole droning thing, they are so slow at the start of these rounds. There's no instant enablement of one player to go charging in and make something happen with a drone at his feet or pre-droning already done for him. They have to take everything kind of slow right from the off, and their drone preservation has not looked particularly good across these rounds either. So I think Alpha have got the right idea by trying to be disruptive and really tripping FearX up before they can even start to walk in these rounds. If anyone's, if I had to back either of these teams to get this over the finishing line now, it would be Alpha, but FearX have already shown at least a couple of times how they can get rounds over the line as well themselves.
Let's see who's going to get the advantage then. Only one of these 2 teams is going to get an opportunity to get this one done in regulation. It will be whoever wins this round. Coming up towards the action phase, we're just having those final reinforcements being done. We'll have the Bandit there just managing to get Secret done in time. And also putting the Bandit battery on there, so just showing us, signalling that they're very cautious of the potential for a backside push. You know, we saw a little bit of noise, a little bit of an attempt over that side previously from Alpha themselves, so they don't want to be caught unawares with it. But FearX, for the time being, they're going to be relying on the Maverick just to create a little bit of mischief, a little bit of a nuisance down in Garage.
I was like, please don't expose yourself. I was just trying to run away from the wall at that point. If Mav burned himself out too far and lost his life to it, it would be catastrophic, quite frankly, because otherwise, outside of that, they've got the Hibana to lean on. All right, you can get through a wall still, but it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer, and given how slow things have been to date, yeah, that could be a bit of a concern. At least things are moving a bit quicker here with the Blitz on side as well. Nova working his way down towards server. Remarked earlier on, all you're going to see is him playing on either the shield operators or Thermite throughout this series, and really throughout most of the tournament I'd come to expect. He's putting it to some good use so far, but they've really got to get more out of it.
Twitch drone is just going to be held back by a Mozzie Pest. I don't think they could get a view on it to be able to take it out, so it's going to mean that they go back to sender. The Mozzie Pest doing a really good job actually at the minute of just removing intel from the attackers when it comes to the actual site. They don't know what's going on in there because every time they try to send a drone forward, it is blocked out by one of those Mozzie Pests, and they have to turn around, they have to head the other way. Now then, Nova needs to get in here aggressively, looking to do exactly that. That's beautiful. That's what you want out of your shield. Just acting as that magnet so that Goodboy can step round and get the kill. Bastion does pick up Demic elsewhere. That's the Hibana gone, so no more breaching going to be possible outside of the Maverick, which takes time, and we're down to a minute, so they need to consider that fact. Rovi, once again, Des, in a tricky position and not being dealt with, though.
I mean, 15 HP is not great for him, admittedly, but it's more to the 3 players that I'm keeping an eye on here, like Goodboy, Rin, and Mephi, all still up on their feet and able to work a bit of magic themselves if they can, you know, capitalize on the distraction that this shield's going to be causing for them. Got to be careful of Rovi. He's also managed to get himself up above here as well. Gets himself down through a hatch. This could be a little bit problematic. Nova's going to find himself down. Shield now removed. Once again, Alpha are in a 4 versus 3, Tim.
Rovi just needs to...
no!
Oh,
No!
Not
like this.
I was just about to say Rovi just needs to play patiently. He just needs to wait for his time. He should have waited, I think, till 15-20 seconds left and then just dropped one of the hatches and just been amongst them, just been in behind them. It'd have been an absolute nightmare. Now they've been able to mop him up. 3 versus 3, 3 versus 2 as Bastion finds another in the round. That makes it 3, taking down Rin. 10 seconds left to go, 2v2. And FearX, they might be able to get something done, but it's going to have to be an insane last second push. 3 seconds left to go, and it looks like Alpha hold on, and they do. That gives them the match point opportunity. They might just be able to hold on to Consulate yet.
Like I said, if any team was going to get this one over the line, I would have imagined it would have been Alpha, and well, that's exactly how things stand. 6 and 5. FearX really struggling to get a complete attack together at this point. Yeah, again, they've had a couple of high moments throughout the half where they've made good use of the blitz, I feel. And that round there, they had some of the right ideas coming together. Yeah, Goodball looked like he was on for an absolute tear there to clean things up, but even when he's finding a 3K, no one else on his team managed to contribute to that round. And as we saw back in the first half, those first 3 rounds, sure, you can rely on Nova getting a 3K twice. You can rely on Demic getting himself an ace. You can't always rely on individual players to be the ones carrying you through these rounds. The team performance out of Alpha is looking far better than the one that is coming out of FearX, even if a couple of players on FearX have had good individual performances across multiple rounds.
Right, let's see if Alpha can do it then. Let's see if they can get this one locked down and get themselves a map on the board. It's going to be a big step for them towards that phase 2 position that they're going to be desperate to try and keep a hold of. And what a bonus it'll be for them coming in here, of course, with 2 substitutes. I'm sure it will have been more than they dared to dream of to be potentially pushing forward. They will have a very difficult matchup after this one as well, of course, in order to keep themselves going in the tournament. But, you know, what a road it would be to set themselves on. For the time being, they still need at least this round and another map. There you go. That's what I've been talking about. FearX, you can't keep letting him do it. You've got to bait it out. You've got to punish him for it. And that's exactly what they've done. And honestly, I think that might have been a badly timed risk for Alpha. You need this round to get the map, and you throw yourself out of the window and leave yourself 4 versus 5 early in the round. It's not ideal.
A little bit of a Hail Mary, really, wasn't it, unfortunately.
An unnecessary Hail Mary,
you say that.
You're in the lead.
If you get through the good boy, the only player who's doing anything of particular note, and you have a Valkyrie who's already got the black eye cameras down, then, okay, you'll take it. You never know who you're going to find on those kind of jump outs. It could be the Blitz. It could be something like the Deimos being taken off, in which case, fantastic. Just unfortunate for him, he gets nothing.
If it was his first attempt at a jump out, I would be saying, yeah, if it works out, we call him a genius there. But given that it's the third time now that he's gone out, I think you've got to get to a point where you're expecting that. We're going to see the kills coming in. It looks like FearX are going to do the job here, one after another. Nova in with the latest 3 versus 1 now as the plant is going down. We've got Clip just trying to hold on from above. He doesn't know exactly where that plant is. It's going to be stuck. There is 2 on low health here, so when you look at this as a 1 versus 3, you look and you think maybe it's doable, but with only 22 HP to his own name, it's going to be tough for Clip. He's got a bit of information. He's got some red pings coming out. He's trying to work his way through Lounge, takes a spray through the wall. It's not going to be lucky for him. He's just unable to find that final bullet on any of these operators.
And even if you do find one of these ones on the downstairs, there's still someone waiting upstairs to play the reverse Anal against you as well. So this one is cooked. It's going to end up being 6-6. I think we may have to go for a rehost here to get this configured, but the FearX, they get enough done to send us through to overtime.
There we go then. We are going to overtime. Des, it wouldn't be day 1 at a major without us going to overtime at least once. And so we'll kick it off here with our very first map in this one. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me to see more overtime from this game as we continue to go. I feel like this one is going to continue to be hard fought and is going to continue to be pretty close between these two. But who is going to be able to get Consulate locked down is anybody's guess at the minute. We're heading to Piano this time around by the looks of things.
Indeed.
And that's going to be FearX on the defense for the first overtime round.
And think about last time we saw this, right? Alpha were really, really good at getting control of top floor, mainly pushing their way up yellow, but also the player coming through Cubby inside a meeting. And with that, got control of this kind of like west side of the top floor very easily. FearX admittedly did step back and say, you want it, you can have it. They had to then go and try and push into them in long desk, and that is when things started to fall apart because FearX had a couple of crossfires set up, and Alpha just knew they couldn't comfortably try and make a plant happen on site itself if they had this threat coming in from the vertical, where if a retake from FearX came on through, they're back in square one. They've got to then go and retake top floor again. So I think that's where they'll be looking for an improvement this time round, is not letting FearX really stonewall them out of the perimeter rooms, and in fact, going on to push in and try and kill a couple of the FearX players before you start thinking about going for a plant inside a piano or X position.
Yeah, this was the round that round 3 was the one that I spoke about, where I said Alpha took lots of ground, but only really took what was given to them and never had confident control, was the phrase that I used. They were in there, but they weren't able to find any kills based on it. They weren't able to really do anything that helped them win the round, because when it came to planting, FearX still had top floor control. They were still above them. Demic was able to win out the 1v2 to finish his ace for the round and to close things off. So, it was a tough one for them, and that's something that they need to learn from, definitely.
I've had a really, really terrible line that I've been told that I need to say if Mephi really starts popping off.
Okay.
I'll save it. You'll love it. I know you will, because I know
I'm
what you
excited
like as a
for that.
person.
We just need Mephi to do the business now.
That's the problem, because he's not been doing the business, Tim. Every round since I got told about 3 or 4 rounds ago, I was like, all right, we'll hold on to this one. We'll watch Mephi. And often he's the last man walking in on like a Maverick or something and just being shot in a 1 versus 3. I'm like, mate, this doesn't give you a chance to get the shouts out that you deserve. Unfortunate, but we'll see if they can keep on cooking here on the defensive side. At least for now. Alpha, as I mentioned, I want to be careful about this top floor. Get control. And this is where they really got stuck. Last time was on long desk, and this time around, as you see, FearX aren't even playing around this part of the map. They're not playing for that vertical denial. Instead, holding their way around top yellow inside a bathroom here. And here we go. In comes the push. And Ragnar, 14 HP feels like a very magical number for Blitz, because I've seen so many Blitzes down to 14 HP on this game. It's ridiculous.
Clip does manage to take out Rin, so that's going to be the opener for Alpha, an advantage to them. But we have seen FearX, very, very capable on the defense, specifically to be able to play from a man disadvantage and still get rounds won. We're going to have a lot of damage now done to Clip and to Ragnar. So that is 2 operators that are on the cusp of death. Only 25 HP between the pair of them. Alpha really need to be finding themselves another kill here to just cement this advantage before the tide starts turning.
2 down to a fraction of HP, so that Blitz is only so much use to you at this point, unless he can get in and get a clean kill onto someone. Or potentially try and make a plant happen, but he's not really the go-to operator you want in that situation when he's only got 9 HP to his name. 4 versus 4 breaks out here with 30 seconds still to play. No C4s to play behind. Nothing really too disruptive to the side of Alpha if they want to push in to make this happen. Nova finding himself finished off and down here. And there we go, finally. Mephi does strike and get rid of Ragnar.
And puts the diffuser down on the ground. If FearX are able to maybe just defend that area a little bit, there's only 15 seconds that they need to hold on for. Good boy misses his opportunity. Dares he sees his man, but he cannot find the shots. He's taken down. And Demic as well. FearX have almost given this away. 1v2 now. The opportunity was there, but no. Mephi just can't find it. Rovi picks him up. And FearX, what a round of missed chances from them.
What a bottle job by Mephi, man. Oh. When you see a man stood still picking a goo mine out of his foot, like that's the freest kill you'll ever find. He can't shoot back. But doesn't quite find the opportunity and pays the price for it. Very unfortunate, and now I do think we will find ourselves going into a rehost because it says round 8, and it's not round 8. We're in overtime. So I have to do the side swap and Alpha go on to defense instead. Yada, yada, yada. We'll get that sorted for you guys in just a couple of moments. At this point, does Flash have something on his bingo card about the number of rehosts per map?
Does he have K's in the chat? Because we've just had that there. Rin's just put K's in the chat.
Okay, well, there we go. If not Fresh, get it on, get it done, get it crossed off.
I know it's one that's been on there before.
It doesn't
so, yeah.
What about our map 3OT? Is this the series, Tim?
It could be.
Kill me, please no.
FearX there. Demic, Mephi, Good Boy, all missing opportunities. I won't say to win the round, but honestly, I think they probably win the round if they get any of those kills. Because it would have just been that swinging man count. It would have been about control particularly. But Good Boy misses shots and then turns his back to run down yellow and dies. Demic misses his shots and gets taken out. Mephi misses the man that's taking the goo mine out of his leg. He can't react quickly enough. That leaves him then in a 1v1. It becomes, a lot more winnable. A real tough round for FearX where there was some serious missed opportunities.
feel like I need to reel the line off and tell you what the line is.
Des is so excited about this.
You know what? I
feel like you should hold on until the end of the game.
This is what I'll do. If
you can't do it naturally,
if the end of by end of series,
then you can tell us.
It is good and I'll tell you what, I'll hold to this forever. It is great creative genius by Tristan who came up with the line.
Okay.
You can imagine it's to be fair for him, actually, it's quite a sensible and safe one.
Okay.
But it's a good one. I'll hold on to it, and if not, I'll tell you at the end of the series. It does deserve airtime.
I'll look forward to it.
Because otherwise, FearX are going home and there's no chance to ever say it again, and it just goes into the annals of history.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there'll be chance again. Like,
yeah, but I'll forget about it in
the future.
I'll have forgotten about it by then. It'll be long gone.
We're just getting everybody back into the lobby. Don't worry, it won't take too long. This one is just a very simple rehost.
You ever play with a sleeve, Tim?
Technical issues. So it's an interesting one. I'm
about to get like a 10-minute story about how you've tried some on Amazon now, and then you've got like all these different things going on.
No.
Go on, then why is it interesting?
It's just interestingly timed because we had a discussion about sleeves the other day because we were playing in the stack, and I was a little bit cold, so I went to put a hoodie on, and then there was a whole discussion about people couldn't play with sleeves. And
not like a gaming sleeve, though, not sleeves.
I know, and I said, to be honest with you, I'm nowhere near good enough for any type of sleeve to impact my game either positively or negatively. I could wear a dinner jacket, and it really wouldn't make any difference. If anything, maybe I'd get more kills. I'd at least be classy whilst doing it. But no, I've never tried a gamer sleeve. It's not something that I've gone for. Maybe I should try it.
If you try one,
if I'm already flicking a mouse at the wall, imagine the speed I'd do it with if I had a sleeve on.
Like Back to the Future all over again, this time with the mouse mat instead.
It'd be crazy.
Can't believe you've just done that. What colour would you get if you had to get a gaming sleeve, though?
Do I get a colour or do I get a team?
You can pick anything. It can be team, it can be colour, it can be gradient, it can be a series of your choosing on TV. Like, I don't really care. You choose anything you want.
What do I do? Realistically, I feel like the sleeves that BDS use seem pretty good.
Yeah.
They're all doing quite well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing all right.
So maybe I could have a look at what BDS use.
That's one of them. Borrow one of theirs or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Would you want Shaiko's old one, though? Would it make you feel better if you had that? Just feel like the power surge through you as soon as you put it on.
Can you imagine?
Worn Shaiko sleeves on eBay?
I'd be up to a 0.9.
Going for a few hundred
I'd be up to a 0.9, Des.
What are you on now?
Dizzy Heights. I don't know. No, not a 0.9. I'm a support player. All right.
Mate, you've had that excuse for
Get off
years.
my back. I'm a support player.
I've seen you playing support less and less.
How many
anyway.
plants have I got? Yeah.
Lately?
No, that's what I thought.
Not many.
That's what I thought. No, that's what I thought.
You are insufferable. I thought it was me who was bad, and then here you are, giving it full beans.
Shall we go back to some Siege? We've got everybody loaded back in. We continue in overtime between Alpha and FearX. It is 7-6 at the minute. Alpha have got another opportunity. They had the opportunity to close it out in regulation. They failed. FearX were able to hold on, take us to overtime. This time, Alpha will have the opportunity to close it out in overtime. This is their map pick, and they are now on the defense. You would have to expect it gives them a reasonable advantage. If we have a look, they have defended Console Office twice. They have won Console Office twice. Great opportunity here for Alpha to get this first map. I feel like if they can do this, we start looking down the road towards potentially that clubhouse decider. I'm not writing Alpha off when it comes to Bank. It is a map they could potentially win, that is for sure, but it's FearX's pick. It's really open, which I think is going to suit FearX down to the ground, and it could be a tough one for them, but it just gives Alpha that little bit of sort of wiggle room, that little bit of comfort that they at least get a map 3 minimum out of this.
Minimum. The big one for me is, like we've already said, Alpha, it just felt like as the game has worn on, they've sort of grown into things a little bit, started to look really, I don't want to say convincing, because that's a very strong word to use for either of these teams, given how this performance has gone.
Too easy.
I mean, that's a great example. You know, Rovey kind of reminds me of Sloth. It'll just appear anywhere around the map, not always aware of its surroundings.
Either get a 3K
either kill 3 people or die in the stupidest way. And I just feel like I'm watching that all over again. How you doing, well, Sloth?
Been playing in Korea, of course.
He has, yeah.
For Mia.
Questions to ask, that's for sure. Rovey being offline, again, one of the more frustrating points for them because he has been a big part of this game for them too. Like, as it stands, currently 14-9, well, 14-10 now, I suppose. He's been up there with Bastion as being one of the 2 players that has made a big difference. Not the end of the world to have him offline, as said, but still big to lose one of the guns like that. For me, all eyes, though, will turn towards Nova once again. The number of times that he's gone down early on a blitz, no less, as well, is a little bit like, yeah, guard the HP a little bit better, my son. Like, you're feeding the information, that's all well and good, but it's also about being able to put this operator to good use, which you can't do when you're down to single-digit HP.
No, exactly that. You need
Hello?
with the blitz to be able to be aggressive. However,
Hello?
Demic manages
Hello?
to get in. There's no challenge coming from underneath. I'm not sure they're even aware here. Beautifully timed. Mephi manages to take down Ragnar. 5 versus 3 now. Diffuser planted. Alpha on the back foot. Clip able to find Good Boy, but that's about all they can get going at the minute.
There's questions to ask. There are questions. Yes, Rovi went down early. Yes, there was some threat inside the piano itself, but that's a bit of a messy start and not quite the ideal kind either. Down to 24 seconds left on the clock, and Nova sat here at range with a pistol, bringing them down to try and push on forward, and nothing's going to come off the back of it. FearX, by hook or by crook, have managed to get themselves over the line and get a plan down here. It looks like Timmit's going to require that 15th round to see who walks away with Consulate.
Yeah, we're definitely going all the way here. Shield comes out, Nova manages to pick up the final one, and it was a great opportunity spotting round, really, from FearX. They saw that the space was there. Even though the floor was open, there was nobody down in piano. You know why? Because Good Boy had already killed him. That's where Rovi was playing. He was on the Legion. He was going to be the one to try and hold that position, but the problem had already been removed by FearX. It created the space for them, and boy, did they take it. Absolutely great stuff from them. Get in, get the job done, and just hold it from the rappel. They know where the jump outs are going to come from. They know when they're going to come, and they just had that on absolute lock. So 7-7, we go to round 15. It's going to see Alpha on the attack this time. It's going to be top floor again. And if we have a look, Alpha were able to win that attack 2 out of 3 times there's back in regulation.
Can they do it in overtime? There was such a strong temptation to say on a Wednesday rainy night in Stoke, but in here it's in overtime. You'd hope so. You'd trust so, given the stats you just reeled off there. And let's be honest, that last round there, it felt more like FearX managed to catch Alpha completely off guard. I think once they got rid of Rovi downstairs, they realised, oh, there's no one else really playing downstairs. It was only actually once the diffuser was already down that we saw someone try and move underneath. That's where I think we saw Clip step across and find someone who's working their way back into X position. So a little bit light on the vertical denial, and if your whole game plan revolves around being able to hold into different parts of the map there, but also then have the vertical denial on towards the default plant spot itself, you've got to make sure you've got a backup in case one player goes down. But I'll also give it to FearX. The fact that they charged in so quick and Good Boy found Rovi inside of Piano so quickly, that's what really turned that round on its head. And it goes to show that sometimes an early kill in the game, you kind of think, oh, okay, then cool, he's died to the entry, not a big deal. It can affect the outcome of the round entirely, which I'd wager just there it did.
100%.
A goo mine on that window would have saved him as a great
100%.
example.
100%. Yeah, it would have done. You know, like you say, it's just that opportunity spotting from FearX of, you know, saying, look, we've got a chance here. We can get the piano player. We've got the air jabs. We've got everything we need to potentially put this diffuser down. And they did fantastically well with it. So we will see whether they can hold on to the top floor. So what have Alpha done that has worked 2 out of 3 times when they've attacked onto this site previously? A lot of pressure has come from the admin side. One with their attacks that stuck with me from that side particularly was they cleared vending fantastically well. They pushed into take ground inside a meeting, and then they just had somebody operating inside a meeting the whole time. And as the defense kind of rotated around them trying to fill positions like vending, the player from Alpha inside a meeting was able to just pick up a couple of kills, and it really swung it in their favor. So again, I'm not sure whether Alpha go with that admin sided push again. You know, if you FearX, you've kind of got to expect it this time. So, you know, maybe a little bit of pressure from elsewhere as well will be helpful for Alpha, but it's one of them. If it's not broke, you try and fix it.
There's quite a bit to fix here, unfortunately, I believe. I think we're trying to figure our way through to this one because there's a bug at the minute apparently where when you go for a rehost, the round count doesn't then resume at the correct number. Like, for example, the score has been input as 7-6 as it was, but the game reads that as round 1, so it doesn't read it as a fully complete game when you then get over the finish line. So that's what's currently being investigated, I think, while we get that one addressed. You can see at the top of our screen right now, it's 7-7. It says round 2. It is absolutely not round 2. We are indeed in round 15. And just to confirm, the winner of this round will win Consulate and will then progress forward into map 2.
Yep, that's it. We've got plenty more Siege coming for you, not just in this one, but today in general. Of course, we've got A and B stream running, given that we're in Phase 1. Plenty of games going on. We have 8 teams that have started out today. Only 4 of them will still be surviving in the Montreal Major come the end of the day. We will say goodbye to 4. So far, we have had G2 and Falcons both qualifying through into Phase 2. They are done. They are locked in. We have had Chiefs and Black Dragons accordingly drop down into the lower bracket, and they will play the winners of this game, and they will play the winners of CAG versus CL4L. And then 2 of those teams will go through. The other 2 will, of course, go home.
It's kind of a sad day. We always say it like so early on in the competition when you played a couple of games and you've already been finding yourself cast back home, right? But this is why we had this playing phase introduced where it was the teams that were kind of like outside of the norm, those that have qualified sort of late last minute have battled their way through LCQs, for example. It's why G2's in here. It's why we've seen Black Dragons in here as well, with a chance to prove themselves and then qualify for the main tournament of 16 teams that does commence on the 10th in a couple of days' time. So check it in your calendars or your diaries or whatever you might use to track your time these days. But on Sunday, that's when the real action gets underway, when we start off that run towards that final on next Sunday to see who lifts the trophy.
Oh, I absolutely can't wait. The thing is, I love all the different stages of majors. I love Phase 1 and 2 for kind of like the chaos, particularly, Phase 2 when we get into the Swiss and you've got everybody's just battling against everybody, and I just absolutely love it. You've got like 2 streams running, loads of games going all day, but then, of course, when you get to the spectacle of the main stage, and that's where the teams, really sort of rise into the top of the pack at that point when they get there, and absolutely love that as well. Of course, having the community present as well with everybody there to watch it is always a wonderful part as well, just getting to share these moments with everybody, and I'm sure there's going to be some absolute belters coming here in Montreal.
Well, players are all back in the lobby, so we'll be able to get into game in just a moment, and this time around hopefully no issues to see us get over the line and finish off round 15. I almost forgot what our other 2 maps are on the series, actually. Remind me.
Bank and Clubhouse.
The Bank and Clubhouse? Yes, indeed they are. The next one being that FearX pick, which you'd obviously hope if things go against them here, they turn it around. We had these concerns coming into Consulate that it was a map Alpha don't really play, as mentioned. I think looking back over the last 6 months, they've banned it away 10 times. It's been banned against them twice. They haven't played it at all. They refuse to go to it. If it's not banned by someone else, they'll always ban it themselves. Whereas I think for FearX, it being a map they're slightly more comfortable on, you'd expect to see them performing arguably better than what we've seen so far today, because it does feel like it's been one of those games that's been very riddled with small mistakes or missed moments, as you referred to earlier on as well, where really that shouldn't really be a thing. Oh, great. Okay, we're going back to the rehost, I think. Woo! As many rehosts as rounds, unfortunately. So I think we'll sort that out in a second and get ourselves started again. Okay.
We'll be in as soon as we can. Have you ever tried any other sort of gaming equipment, Des? We're talking about a sleeve there, like a little mouse bungee or maybe a hand warmer or...
I don't get... mouse bungees I understood during the era when it was like wired mice, but now we're in the wireless era, and I'm just like,
I could do with an emergency bungee, really.
You could.
As I was saying earlier, I often forget to charge mine, and then I end up chained to my desk.
That is true.
By the charging cable for.
You know what we need to do while we're actually, Tim? I want to go and ask someone later. We need to, when one of these teams go home and they don't have a practice booth anymore, we need to go and commandeer it.
Oh, it was so good in Sweden.
And get in some ranky.
Yeah, we did that in Sweden, and we were able to set up some customs amongst the talent.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I remember walking into the little booth that we took over, and there were just like 2 separate games of ranky on the go at once, and I think Demo had ordered sushi as well. I was just sat there munching that and watching everyone play. It was brilliant.
It was a vibe.
It was a vibe.
It's a tough one for me to admit. I've lost a couple of rounds recently because I've had my mouse charging, and I've genuinely tried to flick onto somebody, and the cable has held me back. That has happened. Yeah, no, nothing like a hand warmer or anything. I don't really have any problems with cold. I can't say that I've ever sort of thought that my hands were too cold to play or anything. I know that's another popular one. We often see the players with, like the little hand warmers that they just hold in the hand, and it just heats things up.
Yeah, I've actually found one of them at home, I don't know why I've got one, but I've got them, like the hand warmer things. I was cleaning out my room the day I mentioned earlier. I was trying to real stress. I'm a clean person, I promise. And I was just like, I should try that at some point. We're coming up towards winter, and my hands do get cold sometimes during the day. So at some point during the session, I might have to just give it a go. See if it keeps me going.
See what happens.
Because I've been playing a lot of games with Fresh and XR Troika lately, and that's been the those are the sweaty sessions, as you can probably imagine.
If you've got Fresh and X in the start, you're locked in.
Oh, it's not even a siege stat. That's the thing though, so it gets a bit more intense. Is the problem.
You're locked in at that point. You're properly locked in.
And so when your hands are cold and like you're not hitting your shots, and you're just like, I need to change this now. That's when the hand warmers are coming out. Might try sleeve as well. What else would you try? I mean, look now. What in-ears? In-ears, I'm not really a fan of. I hate like in-ear headphones anyway.
I've got in-ears because over-ears give me headaches. So I do use in-ears just because it's more comfortable, and basically it allows me to play ranky for longer. If I have the over-ears on, I tend to 3-4 hours.
You need to get a better headset.
Obviously,
mate.
take regular breaks. You know, your safety and your health and safety is important.
Stand up for 5 minutes every hour.
All that sort of stuff. But yeah, after a few hours, I get headaches with over-ears, whereas in-ears, I can play through that and stick in the rank stack. To be fair, on the ranky side, I've had a heck of a season this.
How many games you at?
250 plus.
That's impressive. Fair play.
Yeah, I've had a heck of a season.
I think I'm at 54 or something. But you're a demon. Honestly, I wake up to messages in the morning of all of you lot being like, right, rank stack assemble. I'm like, I work. I can't.
Every day. We put
it makes me jealous. You know that meme like the guy from Les Mis and the guys at the window looking down all sad? That's me every day that I wake up and just see messages in the WhatsApp group chat. Rank everyone. I'm just like, I can't.
No, I've got to work. Right, let's get into this. Talking numbers. 7-7 it is on the scoreboard. We are in round 15, and this one is going to decide it. We've got Alpha versus FearX. This is map 1 in our best of 3, and it feels like it could be a real strong advantage for whoever takes it. We go into FearX's map choice next. Certainly not writing Alpha off, but they are playing with 2 substitutes, let's remember. So going into somebody else's map choice, 1 down, is surely going to be a big ask, you would expect. So FearX, they're going to be doing everything they can to try and lock this one down here and get it won in the final round. It's going to be up on the top floor. We've got FearX on attack, and we'll see whether they can lock this down.
Oh, almost too much. Sorry, I was really laughing there with one of our production staff.
I could tell.
Yeah. We're all well and good. Right, Mephi. We've got this line prep, my friend. If you're going to pop off, it feels like the round to do it. Playing a pretty critical operator as soon as you get in the right position. And like Glaz, once again, that we've spoken about so many times over now as well. Like, Glaz being one of those really interesting ones where we've seen a couple of good use cases for it. In fact, we had it back on Consulate in our first series earlier on today. Really good use in the mix of the blitz, but also getting control of Larrabee at the same time to make a plant happen inside a bar gaming window. It was really good to see. But don't see him used the way that he used to be, I think, because of the advent of Warden. Obviously, it means it's not quite as effective and you aren't quite as free to play in aggressive positions as you might have done back in the old days before Warden was a thing.
Droning first continues. Before they start going on in here, FearX not going to want to overcommit to anything and cause themselves a problem by losing that entry death. We've seen an awful lot of the rounds so far being converted in terms of the entry kill then leading to the win of the round. It is 9 rounds converted, 5 not converted. So a definite advantage in picking up that first kill. Now then, where have we seen this before? Nova is going to drop the stairs and is going to look to push forward once again.
Normally the immediate response has been a smoke being tossed at top yellow, though as soon as you hear that drop, you're just trying to keep them at bay, because now the problem is you're going to see them start. Okay, then Glaz is gone. Of course it is. Brilliant. Well done, Mephi. Really, again, keeping an eye on the blitz, though, for Nova. I said it so many times over. That's the thing I'm really watching out for here, is being quite impactful for them. They've had a free reign at the top of yellow. No one's been there to really challenge them. There's been no smokes, no C4s tossed their way. But at least as it stands, nothing has really happened. And Good Boy is, all right, completed a kill and got a default cam and then been shot out by Clip, who's off around the map. Brilliant stuff.
4 versus 3, great advantage and opportunity for Alpha team to be able to get this done now. They just need to deal with Nova, you feel. The plant is being tickled. Demic just having a look to see if he can get it down, but he's going to have to pull off, get out of that window because the Toxic Babe canister comes out. Rin does manage to pick up Slaters though, but how about this? They've got the pulse underneath. It could be game winning, but probably not. We've been waiting for it all game, Des, and Rin just showed up. Triple kill in round 15, leaving us now 3 versus 1 with a shield, with a blitz.
This is a joke.
Nova able to get the final kill, and FearX, after all that, are able to lock down the first map. They take Consulate 8-7.
I'm not going to lie, it feels like they didn't overly deserve it given how some of those rounds went, but they win it. They win it, but they win it. And again, when you look back across the history of that game, there were a lot of multi-kills that really built upon their side, especially in those first three. Goodbye had a big round back in round 11 as well. Just when it matters most, they've had these hero moments from players, whereas we haven't really seen that step up too much from the other side of Alpha. But let's not, put this any other way. FearX are a full team of 5. They play together a lot. Alpha are still playing with 2 subs here that they haven't had a whole lot of time with, yet have brought FearX literally to the brink there on that first map choice, on a map they don't play.
No, absolutely. It's like I say, you've got to give credit to Alpha. They've done well. They've really kept up with things. They've pushed them to the limit. It feels like it might now be a step too far to try and go and win FearX's map, but there's a lot they can take away from that first one.
I think they can do it.
There's opportunities. There is opportunities. FearX have looked far from perfect. I'll put it that way.
Well, there's a lot to see on Bank. That's all I'll say to that one. Let's go to the break. When we come back, we'll see you on Bank in a few.
tab, yeah, I want that. No lines, I don't cut back. Sweet, salty, and all that. Let loose, come get that. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel that? Ooh, you feel that? Ooh, the real back. Ooh, I'm still that. Ooh, you catch that? Ooh, I guess that. The best back. Yeah, yeah. 30,000 up, I'm a pilot. Might jump out if I'm wildin'. Catch my flow, I'm so stylish. Tap, tap, real smooth. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go.
Oh, welcome back to this best of 3 series between Alpha Team and FearX. Now, before we get into our next map, we'll take a quick look at stats. We're on a bit of a short time on this one, so let's get those stats up in a second, take a look at those. Tim, though, I think we look at how that last map played out. Really, there were a couple of heroes and a couple of anti-heroes, should we say, across the two teams. I think you can look towards Bastion, for example. Wonderful game that he had. Nova on the other side started real strong, had a couple of good rounds throughout, but Rin, except for that last round, really let us down, to be honest.
Yeah, I think overall, I guess, turned up when the team needed it. But
got it over the line, that's what counts.
You know, yeah, at the end of the day, the history books don't really remember anything beyond the win, do they? But, yeah, definitely going to be needing a little bit more from Rin on Bank. I want to give Rovi a shout as well. I think Rovi played a good game, certainly not playing with any fear, getting out of doorways, getting out of windows. I think pushed it a little bit too far in, I think it was round 12. It was the opportunity to win in regulation. Already had a couple of kills from runouts and decides to go out of the window. It's risk and reward. I get it. I think it was just a bit too big a risk for that round in particular. But yeah, great performances, you know, on both sides really.
And with all that said, like I say, Bank is pretty much ready for us to go into in just a moment as well. So we'll jump straight in as soon as our teams are ready. For the most part, everyone is in lobby. But the big thing for me coming into this one, talking about that last map, it was chaotic. It was all over the shop. And I imagine both coaches have stepped away the players and a little bit more lean given towards Alpha. As mentioned, they've got 2 subs stepping in. FearX are a solid 5. They should be able to get this over the line and figure things out coming into this map. But realistically, we need to see a bit more composure, a bit more team play. And I think especially for FearX, less reliance on individuals working magic.
Yeah, you know, we've got to be realistic about the opportunities for Alpha here on Bank as well. Alpha team yesterday, of course, played Bank against Falcons. It did not go well for them, Des. It was 7-1. They didn't win a single attack. I think it's good for them they start on defense this time. You know, they were at least able to get a successful basement defense. That was the one that they got out of the 7-1. They're going to, I think, need at least a 4-2 on defence, realistically. They need to be locking down top floor and basement. Those need to be the 2. Top floor, I think, could be a tough one for them because, any roam game that they might try to play with players like Rovi is pretty much going to be nullified when they're up there because you can't really do too much from underneath. So, could be a tough start for them.
Bands have flown on through, and the Monty was the first one taken away. It's worth touching on. We spoke about the allowance of the blitz going through here. It's a similar attack once again coming out and saying, you know what, we feel we can deal with the blitz coming out from Nova, which, although at times proved problematic, I'd say overwhelmingly they did have the answer to. You know, often, as I said, you'd see him put down to 14 HP. It was kind of weird how often we'd see a blitz actually put down to that exact amount of HP. So I think you're going to see a similar thing here. A lot of it's being brought along, but they feel that's a lot more preferable to facing off against a Monty that they can't really do too much about.
No, I think that's a fair. Yeah, I think that's a fair choice. Let's head down to the basement then. No surprise to see Alpha pick this as their primary site. It's the one that they won the other day against Falcons yesterday, so they're going to try to repeat that success this time. They've got the Goyo on side, a bit of a staple operator for this side. You can see the canisters just being placed all over around server just to try and deny that plant spot. We know where the plant is likely to be attempted should the opportunity arise, but we do occasionally have, I'm looking at that switch towards the Hibana for Demic particularly, maybe get those hatches open. If you drop down the hatch inside of CCTV, for example, you sort of take away that necessity to deal with the Goyo canisters.
For sure. I mean, for me, Queen of Hatches, speak about the Hibana often. Sometimes even see her get banned away on this map purely because when you're attacking into the basement, there are so many hatches that you've got to worry about that you really need to bring the Hibana along. Some teams will often opt to bring along 4 of the hard breach canister gadgets instead, so in some cases even more than that, to make sure that these things can most definitely get opened up. Almost see what you got with the Buck is a little bit of an insurance in the back pocket in case the Hibana does go down early on. Otherwise, this round ends up being absolutely cooked. For the side of Alpha, though, looking at their lineup, super dug-in setup. Whenever you see something like a Smoke and a Goyo together, you know the plan tends to be how much time can we try and waste with those two in tandem. So expectation is that you're going to see a lot of focus on the server side of things here, and there'll be a very heavy stall game coming out from Alpha on the defense. But do FearX then try and twist that and say, forget that, let's attack him through main stairs instead, or try and make some other kind of execute work out?
Well, interestingly, the lineup for Alpha is pretty much exactly the same, apart from Slater, who's gone with Fenrir instead of the Legion this time around. You know, that might line up with the Monty ban particularly, but then again, Monty was banned out yesterday as well. So it's interesting in the fact that FearX are going to have been able to watch this defense specifically because it was done yesterday, and Alpha are going to be pretty much doing the same thing here with the same lineup. So I'd expect FearX to be well prepared for that. They've got Hibana in above. They're opening hatches very quickly. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. You know, this is potentially looking very good for FearX so far.
Yeah, getting themselves set up and getting the things opened up they need to, as mentioned with the Hibana being the main focus, charging around, opening up everything there is to be opened up. But it's all good saying, cool, they've got the clear, they've got the drones, and they've got themselves set up, they've got hatches opened up. The real battle on this site comes in the execute. My concern is we're getting towards already this kind of 60-second mark here, and there'll be questions around exactly how much have we done in terms of getting things cleared out. Are the Goyo canisters removed? The 3 smokes are still in back pocket, for example. That C4 was well placed. Does not finish him off, but the second one sure does. Rovi collects the second, and this is the problem, Tim. You can do all the setup in the world, but if you're not able to collect the kills that you sorely need on the push forward, well, this kind of thing happens, and they've given Alpha far too much time and room. That slowness coming back to bite them once again.
Yeah, that was beautiful from Rovi there. I picked him out in the last game, and he continues in this one as he left off, managing to get Rin as well. But Demic does find the kill. 3 versus 3, and for all that good work from Alpha, this is still winnable for FearX. 30 seconds, slightly more than that actually left on the clock for the time being, and definitely work that they can do. The problem they're going to have is those smoke canisters. Still 2 left in pocket, so Ragnar can save the rest of this round if he saves himself and doesn't give away his death to this hatch. They do see him, shots taken, but it's going to mean that FearX have to run in through that smoke.
They've got the yellow ping on as well, so Slater absolutely had to go down there, and they've got away with it. Is the trade there to confirm? Yes, it is, as Clip brings him down, but a 2 versus 1 comes on through. Now make it a 1v1. Demic's got to be able to hold his man off, finds the vertical, and they'll do just that. FearX take the first round.
As I said, despite a great start from Rovi with the double nitro, it was still winnable. After FearX got those couple of kills back, went to 3-3, it was doable. They had 45 seconds. Yes, that could be held off by the smoke canisters, but as we saw, they just run in through there, make a little challenge onto the smoke, make it difficult for him to focus on his job, push main stairs. It was great from FearX, just multiple avenues of attack, multiple pressure points to make life difficult for Alpha. They get it done and force Alpha to move away to the top floor. They weren't successful in defending this against Falcons yesterday. Will they be able to have better luck today?
I was just pulling it up now, yes. I mean, that series, we were commending Falcons in the series we cast earlier on and saying, yeah, really, they've had 2 7-0s and a 7-1. They're looking really good. Outside of a Cafe that went to 7-8 against them, they'll take that if that's the only loss they've had here during the play-in stage here in Phase 1. But for yesterday, the only round that Alpha team got away with was a single defense. It's already started out not looking so great here, and they've lost the opening defensive round because knowing they've got to go into attack in that second half, FearX might not be as good as Falcons when it comes to defending on this map, but it's still not a good showing that Alpha had such a bad time of it yesterday.
Get into the action phase then. We've got the Banshees being placed on the inside of the windows. Going to at least give notifications should somebody come on in. I think that's going to be the concern there, particularly for Alpha, but in all honesty, I would expect them to be aware of that if that was happening. It certainly, you know, in terms of controlling the site, needs to be something that they they're aware of, that they know is happening. We've got Good Boy going in quickly here, straight up those blue stairs, looking to potentially push up towards top square and take that area quickly. Pressure towards ATMs as well, or at least the door being open to offer those options. Nicely placed bulletproof cam, just going to actually double down on that information so that they've got lobby completely covered. The bees do come in from Grim, not really going to be doing too much at this point, so need to make sure that they're saving at least a little bit of that utility for FearX for when a point might come that they want to get in for a plant.
I'll say one thing I'm surprised not to see picked up by Alpha in this round is the Izama. You know, very, very effective with the Kiba barriers inside of sight to reduce the efficacy of the window play. Great response from Good Boy. You know, Rovi got a couple of shots off, but not enough to see the Dopey put down at range. And this is where you might start seeing, well, where you did just see those attacker guns, of course, generally superior scopes and higher damage, doing a lot more to the other side than what Good Boy could do. Sorry, what Rovi could do to Good Boy.
Especially with the UMP of the castle.
Tickle.
In terms of utility, not the end of the world. Obviously, all castle's utility will be deployed by this point, but Rovi has been an instrumental player so far today for Alpha, so losing him early in this round is not going to be ideal. We're going to see the angle opened up from the windows and the top of square. It's always an interesting one. It does offer an opportunity for a retake if you manage to get the diffuser down there, but we can see the challenge is continuing in Janitor. It's a bit of a ring around the roses at the minute. Nova is just trying to get that flash coming on in, but the mute jammer was playing spoiler and he gets taken down by Ragnar. 4 versus 2 though. Surely FearX have got the numbers to get this one done, Des.
Well, Mephi's picked up 2 from the window as well, which really has opened things up for his team and should let them start going a little bit more aggressive here. As long as they're doing it as a team, which is the main thing that was missing on that last map, this has to be theirs for the taking. Flash is coming on through, but it might be a solo push coming on in here. Onto the door, no. Good Boy finds out his man. Clip may have got one back, but Mephi secures a 3K from the window here, doing all the work for his team and getting them over line again in round 2.
Starts to feel like it's slipping away from Alpha Team a little bit here, Des. The reason that I say that particularly, it's not just the fact that it's 2-0 to FearX, but it's the fact that they problem solving well. That's what FearX are doing to win these rounds. So in round 1, they lose 2 to a double nitro, but they still get the round 1 from a 3v5. Even when they've got 30 seconds left and 3 smoke canisters on the side of the defenders, they still manage to get into sight and get it done. And they're finding ways, and it was the same there. Despite losing the shield in Janitor, they still managed to find kills from elsewhere. They still managed to find pressure from elsewhere. So this is the problem. Even when things go right for Alpha, FearX is still winning rounds, and that's going to make it very difficult for them on bank of all maps.
And really frustrating as well. Like, you can't ignore again that this could be the last map that Alpha Team get to play, and they've already come into this competition knowing they haven't got their full regular 5. They've had to play with a couple of subs stepping in. There's a lot of frustration that builds up there, knowing that if you don't get this one right, you're going home when it feels like everything that could go wrong is, and it means so far you're down 0-2. It does start to weigh into things. They lose this next round. For me, again, it's an early tack timeout. You've got to have that conversation as a coach and get your players back on the right side of things in terms of the mental. Otherwise, the half just slips away and we get a repeat of the result that we saw yesterday when we saw Alpha lose 7-1.
Initial cams being taken out at the beginning of the round. FearX doing their due diligence, and that's what I think they're going to do very well here on bank. Is they're going to do the basics. All the boxes are going to be ticked, and I don't think we're going to see necessarily too many mistakes creeping out of FearX. So Alpha need to make sure that they're taking the opportunities when they are presented to them. Clip is going to head back in towards Elevator. Needs to be careful though, because he could well come face to face with the Blitz, and he's well positioned inside of open to say that it's an Archives Tellers defense here. They've got themselves inside of open. That gives them a direct breach on into sight. There's an opportunity there that Demic's actually going to miss to pick up Clip inside of lobby. It's a difficult place for him to play here because there's just so much space that he can be pushed. Look at how he's been forced back here. There's one on the rappel that's going to get the kill for him. Good Boy just teaming up well with Nova. He takes a lot of damage along the way, but it doesn't matter because 2 kills have been found, and it's again big advantage for FearX.
I like how they've tried to capitalize on knowing that Nova will go pushing towards the lone player there with the second man. I think it was Rovi actually, trying to give a little bit of support on that front as well. But FearX had already read into that and made sure that Rovi was picked off at the exact same moment that he sprung out to try and put Nova down. So FearX have just got a good read here on what it is that Alpha are trying to do. And with the size of the map, it feels like Alpha can't quite capitalize well enough and then get back in towards safety. It's starting to cause them a little bit of bother here.
Bastion just trying to hold down that top floor for the time being, but that means that you've got 2 on site. And if that's something that is recognised by FearX here, they could well look to just swamp, flood on inside a site, get those kills. There's actually 2 up on the top floor, and in all honesty, I think they could find some space inside a site to put a plant down potentially and just hold those vertical angles if they know that they've got 2 or 3 guns trained up there. But as I say that, we're going to see a little bit of a drop back down to this mid-level. I love that play, that attempt at opening a new angle, but it just does not pay off for Slate as Bastion manages to find one. Rin's there for the trade. 40 seconds left to go. 3 versus 1. Surely this is another round going to FearX.
Good team response by FearX as well, all close enough together that they could react to that shotgun hole being blasted open and then get the subsequent player that tried to get involved in that gunfight as well. 30 seconds to play with, and only Ragnar's left on his feet here. He has got a C4 in back pocket that they need to be mindful of, but surely with these numbers, you don't let this one slip away.
They're going to push him one at a time. They will. He drops
Oh
one,
my
he
gosh.
drops 2, and that is a big mistake from FearX. They can't give him 1v1 fights like that. The
That
yellow
is
pings are
embarrassing.
constant, and out comes the nitro. You called it, Des. You said that he had the utility left in his pocket, and it closes out the round for him. Ragnar plays that beautifully, but I came into that round saying FearX hadn't made many mistakes and probably wouldn't, and that Alpha team would need to capitalize on the ones that they did, and immediately they do exactly that. FearX just wandering in through that doorway one at a time. The mute jammers doing huge work there because the drone couldn't get in to see where the last defender was, so we're just going to have to run in and find out. But when the first one gets gunned down, that's when you've got your intel. That's when you've got your information. The second one cannot just wander in after them.
And being frank, Demic was off in Narnia. He was off by ATMs when this whole thing was happening. So you've got 2 of your teammates trying to execute, and you are not quite the other end of the map, but quite as far away as you can possibly be from the action at that point. You're not there to be able to secure a trade or really help your team in any other way. And I imagine that was out of the fear, as you say, of seeing that the drone jammed, trying to push into walls, tellers, and archives. Maybe that's what held him back and made him a little bit apprehensive of what he could get involved with there. They had no idea where the mute was, but don't take it away from Ragnar. He's played out that 1v3 absolutely perfectly, but for FearX, you'll be kicking yourself there. That should have been 3-0 to them.
I feel like sure they must have had time, to try an alternative route to get that drone into sight, to, just find a different way in. There's plenty of doors, there's soft walls, there's drone holes, there's all sorts of stuff that go into archives and tellers, and there's only 4 mute jammers at the end of the day, and I'm sure some of them would have been positioned upstairs to try and help the players hold on up at the top as well. And FearX just a little bit guilty there of not taking the time that was available to them.
It's, again, more missed chances and opportunities like we spoke about on our previous map, right?
It is absolutely that, and sometimes you've just got to take your foot off the gas and do the legwork, get the information, and it guarantees you the round. For the time being, they're going to be attacking onto the basement again, getting those hatches. They did this very well last time around, so Alpha are definitely going to have to bring something different to the party. Looking at the lineup, it is exactly the same as it was last time, so I think the game plan is probably also going to be very similar. We've got Bastion on blue stairs, which is where he was last time. He was supported by Rovi down in server. I don't know if that's the case again or not, because that was dealt with quite easily by FearX. So I think, yeah, Rovi's just kind of more inside a sight this time, trying to keep that hatch closed. So I like to see that Alpha have at least adapted a little bit.
Flash, right sort of idea. It's a warden sat here, though, so not too under threat from these flashes coming on through. Now they've got to face off against this problem. How do they force him away from this position when he can deal with the flashes, he can deal with the blitz, for example, of course, seeing pots with the Goyo as well. Seen teams before put pressure onto bottom of stairs, so you can't easily run down that way if it comes down to it. And I think that's what they're trying to look for, but for now, a couple of players rotating away to Marble instead and saying, forget about it, we'll go elsewhere.
Just trying to use that glass scope, get a thermal image on anybody. Not going to be able to, but Rin manages to swing and take down Slater, who's having a torrid game so far. 5 versus 4, as we see Glass actually downed effectively.
Okay.
4 versus 4 for the moment. But again, that shield is just like a magnet to these defenders, just always causing a problem, always a nuisance. 4 versus 4. Sorry, 4 versus 3 now as that kill comes in. It's going to be Demic that gets taken down, but there's an opportunity here for Nova to potentially put this diffuser down, and that kill will surely signal the time to do so, which it does.
They've got the cross ready as well. They can support him here as this goes on through. As long as they aren't losing players in this step up, then they're fine. Sure enough not. Mephi's found himself a couple in the round. This one looks to be closed and converted. Roby's all by himself. And once more, FearX resume control as they had back in those first 2 rounds and move up to 3-1.
And that's the point in a 4 versus 1 diffuser down where, of course, Nova is going to get aggressive on the Blitz shield and make it very, very difficult for Roby to do absolutely anything in that situation. So another good downstairs attack. This time FearX deciding to go an alternative route, get themselves into lockers instead and still getting the diffuser down. Very, very good from them. Alpha kind of all at sea, really, just spinning on their heels, trying to take whichever gunfight was presented to them. But at the end of the day, FearX were absolutely all over them. So we move on to round 5. It's going to be up to the top floor CEO this time, and FearX, they're going to be looking for a 5-1 here. I think they've got the...
They should be. I mean, it should be 4-0 at this point, as we remarked, right?
in
Outside of an
reality.
amazing Ragnar 1 versus 3, this is a 4-0 as it stands.
So it should be, looking at another couple of rounds for FearX before they head on to the defense. It kind of looks at the minute like Alpha, we've already said there was 7-1 on Bank yesterday, so they've at least matched that. It feels a little bit at the minute like they're looking to just improve that performance on Bank rather than to take themselves to map 3 here. Maybe things change in the second half. I don't think things are honestly going to get any easier for them. They've picked defense to start here. On attack, FearX's map, I really think things are going to get tougher as this goes on, not easier.
We'll see how things play out. We've got the Sens on side, which normally indicates there's something spicy afoot. Very rare that you'll see a team bring this operator along unless they've got a plan in mind to make use of them. Normally through things like drone holes is the place that you do, but also through windows, of course, can be used for a similar purpose. And knowing that the site that we're on, I'm more expecting this to be an execute coming in through the windows. Try and lock off a lot of vision. You normally want something like a Thatcher though on side here as well to help out against something like the Warden. Maybe in this case the Dokkaebi will help out on that side too, but Bastion's the one they really need to unsettle, I think, before they can make full use of this operator.
That's a good flourish drone. The Rotero goes in. It's going to clear out that shield, which is just going to force the Echo of Ragnar a little bit deeper into stock. Although I'm not sure if I just saw that the shield was still standing there. We'll see.
No, it's gone.
It may have been collapsed forward.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
There we go. The debris has melted away now, so there will be no further confusion for me. But yeah, that's definitely good. Clearing out stock corridor. It allows them to move into stock, but it also allows them to maybe put a little bit more pressure onto that spot outside of elevators that's currently being held onto by Clip. They're going to have to deal with this because, again, it's going to prevent them moving across from stock. It's going to prevent them moving into Janet. How do you deal with it? You send Rin in to get a headshot. Absolutely beautiful stuff.
Good start as well. Yeah, having cleared him out, it's not the end of the world like Kate's Janitor. It's a Melusi that's gone. The gadgetry's still down and doing its work. But again, for me, the one I'm keeping an eye on really is the Ward, and of course also the Echo if it comes around to that later point in the round. Just keeping a close eye on that in case anything too crazy does go off here. But there's a little bit of a jump out, and Roby's going to get rid of Nova. That's your Sen's gone. That, again, was one of their big operators in this round that they were relying on to get something done. They've got no smokes to play behind now. It's all about the flash play.
They've got to get this kill. They know exactly where Roby is and where he's going to have to come back into the map. Roby is essentially out of this one now. Demic picks him up. That was critical, and it's well played by FearX. 1 minute left to go. 4 versus 3. The loss of the Sens, like you say, not ideal. It's going to be a big part of your execute potentially. But I've said already, FearX have been good at problem solving. They've been good at finding a way generally on attack. Well, now it's time to show us that again.
Final phone call rings out. I mean, from this point on, those Yokais are going to be effective for them. Can't take them offline or shut them down anymore. Warden taken offline. That was the big one I was looking for. And now they've got all these flashes still in the back pocket of 3 of their players to use and abuse the other team, essentially. Alpha going to try and hold down as long as they can. But in a 4 versus 2, I don't want to say it, but surely they don't give this one away, Tim.
No, that's it. You've got to see this plant coming in now, which is exactly what it does. All that flash utility is covering it, and so no challenge can be made. Again, really well played there from FearX. Demic manages to find 1 Slater. Surely meaningless kills here. He picks up 2, and a 1v4 becomes a 1v2 and becomes that touch more possible, that touch more believable. Can he find more? Absolutely not. He hits the deck, but he's going to be put there permanently as the kill comes through, and that's going to be another successful attempt for FearX. They lose that sense. They lose what would be a big part of the execute to get that diffuser down. And again, they find a way. Something that they have continued to do really, really well on Bank.
Yeah, got to be really careful about when they potentially lose these man advantage situations. As we saw the 3v1 earlier, as almost there, it bled down to being a 1v1. Slater gets that first shot. It's a good boy. Suddenly, it's all up in the air as to how that one closes out. No matter which way you describe it, though, FearX are up 4-1 on the attacking side of Bank. Dreamstar, it is their map pick, and we are seeing them perform at the level that maybe we didn't get to see back on the previous map. Is it, a major winning performance from these guys right now? Arguably no, but it's at least convincing and showing that they belong in making it further than they have got so far in this competition and having a chance at making it into Phase 2.
Open area then will be their final defense. We haven't seen this yet from Alpha Team, and it's going to be the last one indeed that we do see. They did manage to win the other mid-floor site, Archives and Tellers. It was due to FearX mistakes. Don't get me wrong, it was played well by Alpha Team in the 1v3 at the end of things, but the opportunity was presented to them. They played in behind utility like the mute jammers to prevent their position being known, but FearX gave them every opportunity to close it out, just going in one by one, and that's exactly what happened. But we will see whether they can find a little bit of a different outcome when it is indeed open area that they're going to be attacking onto. We've got the shield, the ever-present blitz from Nova, once again going to be coming through and looking to pressure, this time from the lobby side.
It's a reminder again that they've got a dance of Black Dragons waiting after this game. Whoever wins it has got to face off against them for that spot in Phase 2. And Black Dragons, I know they fell down to G2. They didn't play it badly. We had a couple of real close maps there. So it's going to be a little bit nerve-wracking for them going into that next game. So confidence in this series is paramount. A good chance to build up a little bit of, shake off the rust here. Get yourself in a good flow state for the day. Ready for when that next game does click in. Here they go. Ragnar's a little bit pinned in here on the Fenrir. The blitz is right up in his face. And we tend to know how this one ends, Tim. It ends up with Ragnar being dead.
Tends to end up like that. There was flashbangs going in as well. And then the blitz, of course, doubled down on that. With those 3 rows of 6 flashbangs across the front of his shield, just making it impossible for the Fenrir to fight back, leaving us now at 4 versus 5. Alpha Team, this one is unraveling quickly for them. This is why I said coming into it that first map was so crucial for them if they wanted to have an opportunity to maybe see the 3rd map of Clubhouse, and it is going as expected so far. The Deimos is not going to make things any easier either. Mephi just going to be making life a misery. If they can get up above and use that verticality, use those scans, there's going to be absolutely nowhere for the defenders to hide.
Yeah, still got one more to play around. Of course, I've got to be mindful of the mute jammers as well that are scattered around the map, which will help prevent and keep people locked away. In fact, that's exactly what you saw coming out. Valkyrie being tagged out here, but immediately I think they got denied away for half a second. No! Through the floor he is found. Clip's going to find one, but then immediately get traded out the other way. It's not the worst way to go down. At least you're taking someone there with you, but once again, it's FearX maintaining their man advantage.
Right now, Roby, he's just trying to get anything going, and he manages to do exactly that. Picks up a nice shot with the shotgun onto Good Boy. 3 versus 3, and the defenders continue to trade here, continue to battle to keep themselves in this one. They fight in tooth and nail. They know what's at stake. We've got them watching the hatch drop now. Slater's really struggled to get himself going here on Bank. They could really do with a big moment from him. He hears the man, but he can't find the shots. It's going to be Mephi to take him down with the pistol. Absolutely beautiful stuff. 3 versus 1 now, and surely this is another round going to FearX. Diffuser is going down. It's all up to Bastion. He had a great map last time around, but again has been quiet here on Bank. Is there anything he can do? He has to walk into the bees, and ultimately he's going to get stung by Rin for the final kill. That's going to be 5-1 on the half, and FearX, I think, getting there just rewards there.
Just a little bit, yeah. To be up 5-1 on the attack of your own map pick is somewhat expected because it's your own attack, but more of the fact that it's 5-1 on Bank, like that's solid. A really good performance, and now they're going to the defense needing to just win 2 rounds, whereas Alpha have got to battle their way back in with at least 5, and even then, that might only guarantee them overtime. Understandably, having themselves a little tack timeout coming in here as well, because Alpha, they've just had the half from hell is the only way that it can be described, and now they've got to try and come onto the attack of Bank and try and undo FearX. That is no easy feat.
It's always a good question for the tack timeout at halftime, isn't it? Because I always wonder how much can you really do? How much can you really give? Because your team hasn't attacked yet. You're trying to fix things, but you're trying to fix kind of what you've seen on the defense. So I'm kind of like, maybe give it a round or 2. Let's see what happens.
I'm asking a few teams about this as to, what influences when you take attack timeout. And if you see it after 2 or 3 rounds, like if it's 1 or 2 rounds in, normally there is a big issue around communication. The guys aren't working together. All the plans that you've had have just gone out the window and everyone's playing like headless chickens. That's when the coach has to step in and say, right, whatever's going on, pack it in, reset, yada, yada, yada. After 3 or 4 rounds, it's because of the tactical issues. If you see it at half-time, it's more like the former, but arguably even worse. Like you say, you can only have that attack timeout once. You want to really use it after you've had a chance to see how the team fares on the attack. But here, clearly, the guys either aren't communicating very well, comms are low, people aren't talking as much as they normally would, game plans have gone completely against them, and their heads are just not in the server right now. And that is where the coach has got to decide, do I leave it and let it go 6-1 and then get involved at match point when it's too late? Or do I talk now and say, boys, calm it. Let's get ourselves back in the game here. And I imagine that's exactly what's just happened. Whether or not it has an impact, well, you're about to find out as round 7 is now getting underway.
We're going to have a bottom floor defense to kick things off from FearX. Have them hit in all the hatches. They're going to be looking to hold on to the entire map here, I think. Nice top floor presence from them. Just try and waste as much time. It's that same theory. You're against a team that isn't going to have plan B, plan C. They're not going to have this deep strat, but with the 2 subs in place, it's going to make it more difficult for them to adapt, and to overcome problems. So if you're FearX, waste 30 seconds on top floor. Just show them there's somebody up there. Reinforce a hatch. Make it look like it's... Exactly. Stick a bit of utility up there. Why is that there? Now we've got to drone it out. Now we've got to check. We're going to... we can't drop this hatch into open area now because we're going to have 20 seconds of fire to go through as well. And, all these things are eating away at the time. We're a minute into the round and they're not inside of the map yet because all these plans are being formulated. And all it's going to do is leave them in a situation where they've maybe got 20-30 seconds left to execute by the time they do get down there. If they lose bodies on the way as well, it makes it even more difficult again.
Like you say, it's a case of slowing it down, letting just waste a little bit more time here inside the Stafford Open, and already dropping away here at 1 minute 15. So far from the end of the world, but they've taken down 6 drones during that time, and again have slowed down the onslaught of Alpha, which I think again is only a good thing for them. The lower this clock runs, the more it starts to benefit the defenders, as you can imagine.
Mephis still in position, deployable shield, warden, shotgun, he's got everything he needs to stay there for a good while. Yeah, I'm just looking across at the side of the attackers as well, the utility they've got to hand. They've not really got anything, to easily deal with something like a deployable shield on the side of the attackers. How are they going to deal with that? How are they going to get through this Tuberai? This is all about wasting as much time as possible.
And tries their might here. They're looking and trying to think about how they get this hatch opened up. It's all well and good, but as said, we've got a Tuberai present who's still got 2 more of those that he can toss around. We've got 3 smokes to play behind. We've got Goyo canisters still around blue. We've said it a lot, but there is a hell of a lot to chew through here, and I'm starting to get a little bit nervous for Team Alpha. Alpha team, all the way around.
They've sent the bees in, but they can't go in and challenge because of the deployable shield at the top, because of the Goyo canisters. They know that they're going to be running into a shotgun that's going to kill them with 1 shot at range.
Oh,
there you go.
Mephi.
Mephi knows that he can stay in this position. It's fantastically played, and it's wasting so much time. There's only 25 seconds left. They're not in a position to go in and plant, and they are losing body
Mephi.
after body after body. They had no answer to Mephi.
That would have been the great time to say Lionel Mephi strikes versus the Argentines and puts them in the dirt. What a round. 3 being held out there. And this is, again, is the problem. Like we said it from minute 1. The amount of time-wasting opportunities that were set up there, just the struggle that Alpha had to work through. And even when you feel, okay, cool, we've got through a shield and 2 Goyo canisters, there's still a Warden that's still going to see you negated off. And I don't know, like they've played that really well, FearX, and Alpha again are just looking a little bit lost for ideas. They've had 1 swing of the bat, and I already feel like they're done.
Well, they've brought nothing to... I picked up on it at the beginning. They brought nothing to deal with the deployable shield. You've got deployable shield, and I think it was 2 Goyo canisters at the top of blue. Why have you not got nades? Why have you not got nades? Because you've had a look at them. You're the attacker. You've got the opportunity to 6th pick. Change out and make sure you got the utility you need. Whether that's a Zofia, whether that's nades, whatever it is, you can't... you've got a Warden with a shotgun who's going to play on blue. There's a deployable shield getting set up there, so the chances are, they're going to play behind that deployable shield, and that's just made it twice as difficult for you to push from stairs. So then you try and push bottom blue. But how do you clear in from bottom blue? Because you don't have pressure from top blue, because you can't go in because of the Goyo fire, and you're struggling because of the deployable shield. really what you need to do to clear the warden out of that position is you open the hatch so that they make a choice. They either choose to play their entire life there, or they can't leave because you take them out if they try to, and then you push them from top and bottom. You get down into server, you push them from top blue stairs. You might lose one, but you definitely get the trade. They were just unable to actually formulate that plan to create a situation where they had one on either side of Mephi, and Mephi's just dealt with it beautifully.
You see like Capital's being brought for that, nades, as you remarked on earlier as well, but just did not have the tools to get the job done. All the time, being frank as well, it was always going to be working against them. Still, this could be the last round. It's a very, very tall mountain to climb now for Alpha Team if they want to fight their way back in. It's 5 rounds on the bounce. That is certainly a good way to start it. Mephi taken offline by Clip, but still a whole team to work through here and a hell of a lot of utility to slow them on the way through. That second kill, though, well, that suddenly opens things up, Tim.
Yep, Rovi manages to pick up Rin, attacking onto open area here. So this is actually a really good start for Alpha Team. They've got a lot of the top floor. I'm not sure if they're aware of that one more player. Good Boy is up here, and they do, I think they might have known, but he still manages to win the fight against Rovi. However, Clip is there for the trade, and honestly, that is the best play that I've seen on Bank so far from Alpha Team. It was just such a great top floor clearance. Now, FearX are in a position of having to make a move, having to roll the dice, having to take a risk, and that risk is Nova on the Azami up into square, but it looks like they know.
I mean, you're on flag watch. It's all you've really got to do. And yes, you see the slightest pixel change, and at this level of play, you just know fire and hope for the goddamn best. Nothing really becoming off the back of it, though. Neither team losing HP and falling away here quite comfortably. Down to that last 70 seconds. Alpha have got lots of time to play with. You do need a handle on these last 2 remaining players, I feel. One of them being Demic, who's now skirting around in the basement.
I think it's going to be a tough round for FearX to close out here, but I don't think that they'll mind too much. They've still got top floor to go to, and then, of course, back around to the basement. So plenty of opportunity for them to close this one out, and all Alpha Team can do is try to win one round at a time. They can only play what is in front of them, and the scoreline in front of them at the minute is that 6-1. Looking to drop down into sight potentially, Clip, as soon as everybody else is in position and ready. They're going to need to open up copy window. Needs to be careful. Demic just getting a little bit brave there, having a look up the hatch. Nearly finds his man, but Bastion does take down Nova, and it's almost certainly over for Demic. Man. He finds one. Surely not. No. Ragnar manages to get that final kill, and that's going to be Alpha Team keeping themselves in this for at least one more round.
Would have been a little bit ludicrous if he pulls off that 1 versus 4. Should never happen because they know exactly where he is. And sure, it looks a bit for a second when they nearly lose a player on the hatch and also lose a second as he steps in for the challenge, but they get it over the line. I feel like there's been so many times over the last 6 months where I said something like, it's a 5-round climb. There's just no way they can do it. And then we see a team go on to achieve just that. In fact, it happened to G2
It's been done over and over again, to be honest.
G2 were down 6-1, and they managed to come back and win in overtime, literally earlier on today. So it's very, very plausible. It's more how the game has played out so far that I worry for Alpha. FearX have only got to get it right once, spawn peak or just not being droned out, whereas Alpha Team, they've got to get it right every second of every round from here on out.
As you say, absolutely no more mistakes now for Alpha Team, and this time they're going to be attacking onto the top floor. Again, I think this might be an opportunity for Alpha Team to get around. FearX are not going to be able to, fall back on the same plan that won them basement with all them problems and all those issues to solve. It's not quite the same in terms of somewhere that you can just dig yourself in like blue stairs. There isn't really that sort of position here on top floor. Maybe elevators, I guess, but I don't know how effective that's going to be. So, yeah, I think, a potential opportunity for Alpha Team here. Time shouldn't be a factor. Having to adapt and different, changes and rotations through the round shouldn't be a big factor. They know it's top floor. They should be able to come in here with a good plan, knowing they're going to be in janitor. They're going to be holding with probably 2 on site and 1 at elevators. This is our plan to create some space and get a plant down. And they shouldn't really have to change too much or work around too many problems. So definitely a chance.
Of course, being prepped out for any potential jump outs that might come on through. It always feels good to be prepared, Tim. We've seen plenty of crazy ones over the years. Not that I expect at this point FearX to go throwing themselves out of windows, to be fair. They haven't done it so far in the series. Why suddenly turn around and start now? For Alpha, it's going to be about getting this control of that top floor, these longer angles that we're so used to seeing. Of course, seeing the ace out here as well, looking down towards Cantor, all the way through that white corridor. it starts to restrict the defenders and give them less options to be able to play around the site itself, really either constraining them to the site or off the site if they're not already playing on it.
Pressure will mount from the windows, of course, as soon as they are open. Good boy in a good position on the Azami here, just to keep popping those keeper barricades up and making life difficult. They've done well to get a Toxic Babe canister out there, because we're early in the round, and to make them feel under such pressure in Janitor that they need to be deploying that utility already is great, and it's taking it away from later on in the round, and I don't think they were looking at an imminent swing onto there at that point. The Blitz is kind of poised and ready, but Ragnar's happy to just sit and wait at this point until any potential problems in his way, like Toxic Babes, have depleted and gone. They don't need to rush this.
This is where Rin's got to make his move as well and try and come up the backside here and try and get a bit of a backstab on, and just that gets rid of the flank drones as well, and there we go. They weren't aware of what's going on, and he's taken down Clip at the back. It's not the end of the world, but still quite painful, and look at that. Rovi equally has broken this team open. And Rin's, yeah, maybe not quite the place to be. That'll definitely be a plank going down. And I don't imagine he'll have time to get back into through the entirety of this map and be able to stage a retake here, I'm afraid.
Not only is there time to get the plant down, there's time to choose a very specific floorboard on which to plant. I can have a good look round. This is where I think I will plant. He goes out the window, gets another, but will be shut down by Rovi. It was a really nice backstab from Rovi there. It was actually all going the way of FearX at that point. It was definitely looking dangerous for Alpha Team. It looked like it could be the end, but Rovi came in, as he has so often throughout this matchup, with a number of good kills to keep them in it. And FearX just a little bit unfortunate there, because they did stand up to the pressure, and Rin did fantastically well. And you've got to ask questions there, because Alpha Team had somebody dead. You've lost a flank drone's been shot out. You've got to be screaming at that point. They're on the flank. You know, you've got to be screaming. And if that did happen, you've got to be reacting to it. You've got to know that they are behind you. And Rin really able to, or nearly able, should I say, to get that round done, but still not quite the case. However, look at what's been brought along. How do we deal with shields, Des? We bring one of our own. Well,
maybe not one being brought by the other side at this point, but at a stage where Alpha have won 2 rounds, I'd say somewhat convincingly. I know it came down to a 1v1 in the previous round, but realistically, given the situation, the context at the end of that round, it was never going to be one that you saw Alpha getting over the line. Sorry, saw FearX getting back over the line the other way. So with 2 rounds on the bounce now, building in that confidence, we spoke about those potential communication issues that were addressed at the halfway mark of this game. And I'm just starting to worry that FearX will let this one slip away and just don't really manage to mount a fight against Alpha. They can try and slow things down, as they're doing in this round with the Clash, with the Smoke and the Subaru. But is it going to be enough? I don't know.
It's going to be a big ask.
I mean, the big one is this site as well, really, because this is where we saw them stall out previously, right? They wasted a hell of a lot of time, FearX and did a great job with Mephi also playing up on blue stairs. Alpha know they've got to change things around, and look at what they've got along as well. Got the 2 frags in the back pocket of the Deimos to help them if they do have to force their way past the shield, of which there is not one in this round.
I actually love the choice of the Clash. I think it's great. It's one of those, you need a round. Okay, let's make it as difficult as possible for them on site. And, you know, we say it quite often. It's not necessarily, I don't want to really use the phrase cheesing the round, you know, but it is about just getting into that situation and thinking, right, what are they absolutely not going to be able to deal with? What's going to burn even more time? And they're going to expect the Warden set up on blue stairs, so let's give them something different to contend with.
Does it start things off as well, leading the Deimos on the way down. Normally you'd assume the Deimos can lead himself, given the gadget that he's got, but why use it when you don't have to? And of course can't track everyone in front of him, more just the operator that he selects out. Here we go, breaking their way now in towards open, and Staff hatches being opened up with about half the round still to play, and it's going to be that same old stall tactic coming out from Good Boy once more.
No entry kill to be found just yet. Rin's still in position.
Oh, Rin's gone. How?
Everything I was just about to say is destroyed in front of my eyes. No entry, and Rin still in position. Turns into an entry onto Rin, no longer in position. Well dealt with there. And you've got, I can only imagine that's Rin getting overly aggressive. And having the shield on their back.
Fancying a gunfight, potentially. There's nothing else on the side of the
team. And there's no need to. There's absolutely no need to.
There's nothing that can force out, you know, the shield away there. So that is purely of his own demise. I don't really know what he's playing at there, because you may well just end up costing your team a site, well, around at least, where you should be quite comfortable given how the last one played out. Still, it's a 4 versus 4. There is plenty of time to work with here for Alpha with about 50 seconds on the clock. Already got themselves the Grimbees going on down and now starting to work their way in towards the default plant position. They've got these hatches for cover they need. Can they stop any C4s or smokes coming out there from the other side? I'm not too sure they can.
There's a real chance for them to win this. Good boy, though, manages to find Roby, and that's going to be a big loss for Alpha Team. He's been so influential so far, and the Bees are doing their job. They're pinging out those players, but there is nothing that they can do about it. 25 seconds left to go. No choice but to drop, and they're going to be punished as they do. Good boy manages to find one Bastion onto Mefe, 2 versus 3, and everything is in the hands of FearX right now. Taken down before the ace, but they won't mind because FearX surely are going to close this out. 10 seconds, chasing the kills, cannot do it. It's no